Welcome back, Billiken fans. It's Zach Miller, Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hammer that like and subscribe button. Also, that bell down there. Click on it. You'll get all the notifications whenever we drop a new episode. Peter, as we've told the people many times before, this episode and the whole season of the Midtown Madness Podcast is brought to you by 2 Men in a Garden Salsa. Whether you like it mild or hot, chunky or cantina style, the people over at 2 Men have you covered. I know what you're asking me. You're saying, Zach, why 2 Men in a Garden? Well, they're a 100% St. Louis company. Not only are they local, but they've opened up their production facility to local food entrepreneurs. They love St. Louis the way I do. You can pick up their many products at any local grocery store. Schnucks, Deerbergs, doesn't matter. You can find them there. But if you're not in St. Louis, don't worry. You can find them online at 2meninthegarden.com. Follow them on all social medias at 2mensalsa. That's Instagram and Twitter. Pete, we've got some podcast news to talk about. We've got a lot to get into. We've got 2 awesome previews with the Loyola crew at 2Ramblers podcast. We got the Gola boys joining the show. This may be a 2.5 hour pod, Pete.
Well, Zach, you've caught me a little bit under the weather today. So 2.5 hours is going to be a lot. To give people a heads up, I've got a cold and I'm a little maybe more inarticulate than normal. But regardless, you mentioned some podcast news. It all really has to do with you. So why don't you let the people know what you're doing this week?
Yeah, you know what? I feel kind of bad that it all has to do with me because I'm a selfless human being. But it's good to hear that you're a little more forthcoming on the under the weather news than say Travis Ford is about Yuri Collins. I believe our listeners appreciate that. But yeah, so I'm heading up to Chicago for the Loyola game. My plan is to leave Tuesday evening around 6:30 St. Louis time. I'm going to try to do a vlog. So I'm going to try to take as much video as possible on my way up, when I get to the hotel, etc. I'm going to do a little training on there. I might include it, I might not. I don't know. But I'm going to do as much video as I can at the game. After the game, unfortunately, I'm coming right back, so not a lot of like crazy party stuff after the game, but I'm going to do as much as I can to try to give you guys kind of a travel vlog for that game. For me personally, not necessarily podcast related, but I will be doing color commentary alongside great friend of the show, Colin Surrey, for McKendree basketball on January 19th. That's this Thursday. The great people over at McKendree. I've been talking with Colin. I was like, Colin, look, like, I don't know that much about basketball, but like, I can bring some stupid humor to the shit, to the broadcast. Let's do something weird. Let's be different. So he said, I'll run it by the McKendree people. They're like, yeah, that sounds all right. So I'll be on that broadcast. So if you're bored on Thursday night or just want to watch some basketball, check out the McKendree broadcast and listen to myself and Colin do that game. Pete, you know what? Look, we've had some tough times this season, Pete, and I'm just going to say, like, I had fun this week.
Yeah, man. We haven't had a lot of 2-win weeks lately.
No.
Some of our wins have been like it's the only game of the week, or it's been split with a loss. 2 wins. They were not always the prettiest, most convincing wins, but man, oh man, what a relief to get 2 of them back to back. Just in the span of 1 week. Big relief.
Yeah, you know what? I think across both Billiken basketball teams, we had a decent week, Pete.
I think we did. Yeah. I mean, we said before, if the women went 1-1 against, it was 2 home games, but Rhode Island's one of the best teams in the conference. And then you had a big rival, Dayton, coming in, national TV game, and we'll get to this one as well. They went 1-1, and they looked a lot better in these 2 games, I think. I saw a lot of things to like in those games as well. So yeah, it wasn't just the men, but a good week all around.
Yeah, if you told me that the women would have a chance, like be like 5 minutes from going 2-0 this week, I'd tell you to screw off.
Yeah, it was close.
But they were. It was a great week out of Rebecca Tillett's squad when it comes to the win-loss column. Now we can get into the individual games and what we didn't like, what we liked, and we're gonna do that as we usually do. But yeah, let's start off with men's basketball, where we always start off with. So I think one of the most important news items this week was the Terrence Hargrove article, and he opened up quite a bit about mental health struggles with Stu Durando. I've never been anything short of honest with Billiken fans on this podcast. And I think the idea of destigmatizing mental health, destigmatizing mental health, it gets tiresome. But I think one of the things that people got to understand is it's legit when you play a Division I sport and you have so many outside forces telling you you're this, and this. You've got, Terrence Hargrove comes from East St. Louis, right? Since he was 10 years old, he's been told that he is, he's the pride of East St. Louis. You come into St. Louis University as the hometown kid, you've got East St. Louis watching you. You may not live up to the hype. That's fine. But again, it can wear on you. You've got fans on Billikens.com, on Twitter, all this good stuff, but that can be bad too.
I want to start out with Twitter with regard to the story as well. There was a tweet that came out a little bit before this article did. So this would have been on January 9th in that morning. And this is from Terrence Hargrove. He tweets, 2 months ago, I lost all my strength and weight dealing with stress, negativity, and distractions, and it put me in a deep hole with myself, and I lost focus of the goals that I had set for myself. But now I'm happy, not stressed, and I'm focused. God is good. And there's a video of him. It's a short clip, and he's doing his TJ thing. He's flexing, he's strutting a little bit. And he looks great. You got to admit. I mean, he looks like he's in the best shape he's ever been in since he's been at SLU. Looks happy. And it was just, I think, a couple hours later that Stu's article came out about Hargrove, and he really opened up about his struggles. And I mean, I encourage people to go read this. He's really, he's a raw, open nerve in this thing. And he was in a dark place, a really dark place. And it sounds like he got the help he needed, talked to the people he needed to. He's in a much better place now. I think it always is worth repeating. Like, if you guys, anybody out there ever needs help, please talk to somebody. More people care about you than you realize, always. And I'm glad TJ did that. And I think we've seen that in everything from his demeanor to his play on the court. He just looks good. He looks better lately. And as fans, we can nitpick about things that happen in the games, and there's just so much we don't know that's going on. So I think it's important every once in a while to get these reminders that these are whole human beings in their own right, and they go through a lot. They go through ups and downs, and it's like you said before, it's a complicated thing to be a Division I athlete, especially right now. It's been a difficult, complicated few years in Division I athletics, or in any college setting for that matter. So we're really glad that Terrence did what he needed to do, and that he had a good support system around him, and that he's doing well now. And please do go read this article. Really interesting stuff.
Yeah, Pete, I just kind of want to relate it to experiences in my own life, because I've never really experienced that mental health aspect to this. But I think in when we started the show, I was just getting into triathlon, right? And I think we had this discussion at one point where I would tell you like, oh, like, dude, I need to go eat after the show. Like, and you're like, yeah, because you did all this stuff. But like, there was a point when I started ramping up into training where I was under eating, and it truly can affect your physical athletic performance. And I think that's something we need to take into account. And my own personal experience, when I started ramping up and I wasn't changing my eating habits. So when I was working out once or twice a day, where it was just a short run and a lift, and I was eating, 1,500 calories, 2,000 calories a day, there was a point during the summer, and yes, it was freaking hot outside, but there was a point where I didn't get through a 5K run. Like, that's ridiculous. I easily should have hit that run. And that was the wake up call where it was like, okay, like, I'm not eating enough to fuel what I have to do. And I want to bring it back to Terrence here, because that's the issue, right? Terrence is losing all this weight. He's not feeding himself in the way that he needs to maintain Division I rigors, as far as, the practice, the games. And of course that can show on the court in lethargy. It can show in an inability underneath the boards with strength wise, all across the board. So when we talked about how much Terrence Hargrove hadn't developed to the point this season, like, that's the issue right there. So if now he's healthy, I mean, that's a game changer for him going forward.
It is. Mental and physical health often go hand in hand. I mean, very much so. One of the things we talked about the last time he was featured in an article in the Post-Dispatch like that was he's really a night owl. And that's another thing too. Like, your schedule,
sleep, baby.
As a high level athlete, your schedule is really, really important. There's a reason that they travel when they do, and that they get to places when they get to them, and that they eat when they eat. I mean, all of this stuff now it's a science, and they really want these guys to be healthy. And I think that's part of it too. He mentioned that in this piece as well, was making sure he's getting enough sleep as well. So it seems like he's really gotten his mind right, his body right at the same time, and really, really proud of him and the work that he's done.
Yeah, it's really shown on the court too, Pete. Like, I mean, I think I watched him bring down a rebound. I don't remember which game it was, but it was one of the first rebounds of either Mason or Washington, where he brought it down. And I was like, okay, he is physically there. He is out jumping people. He is boxing people out. He's, showing the strength of Division I athlete. Let's get into that George Mason game. Wednesday the 11th, 63-62 win. Pete, I don't know about you, but this game, I never doubted for a second. I definitely didn't move seats in the middle of the game because I was annoyed and didn't want to sit in the same seat for a loss.
No, I don't think there was any question from the start that this was a slew win. At no point did it look like it might get away from us. Pretty interesting game here, to say the least, Zach. I mean, it was not pretty. It was up and down. It felt like mostly down. Yuri Collins hits the game-winning free throw with 1.7 seconds left. He actually missed the first, just to put us through it a little bit more. Made the second, had to give us that extra little bit of stress. And the end here, Zach, we'll talk about more, I'm sure. George Mason had Oduro run the baseline on the inbound play, sent a screen over to put a pick on Okoro. He went down like a house of cards under Okoro, who obliged, by the way. No call, and they didn't get a good look. Game over. It was clear that English was going for the foul there and not the actual shot. With 1.7 seconds and the length of the floor to go. But Zach, I mean, that was just the end of a pretty wild ride here.
Yeah, look, and I think I said this to anybody who would listen to me at the end of that game when Yuri went to the line. I said, look, one free throw is all we need. It doesn't matter if he makes the first or the second. Either way, they're going to have to shoot a three. So he doesn't have to make both. It doesn't matter. But do you think they go for that, like that play if Yuri Collins makes two?
I actually do. I think they were going to run the play, the same play, no matter what, because like you just said, the math isn't any different. Like they've got 1 point. Their big factors there's 1.7 seconds. If that's 3 or 4.7, you can get a couple dribbles in. You can. I don't know. You can try a different pass. You can get a decent look across the half court line somewhere. With 1.7, there's really not a lot you could do. That's time to catch and shoot. But that's it. And so English decided to go with a play that would set, and it was well drawn. I mean, if this is what he wanted to do, but that would set his guy up to draw a foul instead. And look, George Mason missed 11 free throws in this game. They did themselves no favors here. Putting them on the free throw line does seem like a questionable decision. So I think that is the one part where I do kind of hesitate on your question a little bit. But yeah, I think they were going to run that one regardless.
How big of a wussy is Kim English for running that play?
Well, what I tweeted at the time was he either could get his guys to take a look at the basket, or he could take advantage of the fact that we had he had, I should say, a ridiculously advantageous officiating crew. It was just we'll get into this later, but an unbelievable set of officials. And so
at that point, though, like you've had so much go your way, law of averages has to weigh out there. Like,
yeah,
something's not gonna go your way, and Okoro looked like he like chloroformed the George Mason player and just let him down softly. Right? He was like, go to sleep. Go to sleep.
That was the point guard, right? The screener was the point guard, Polite. He was way smaller than Okoro, way smaller.
I think you got to put somebody who's a little bit bigger that it doesn't look so ridiculous. Like
I think it was put the smallest guy on the floor out there and let him be the one to take the contact, because he's going to go down. It's going to look the worst. It's going to look like Okoro's bullying this guy because he's 8 inches taller or whatever. But man. I think that was exactly what they drew up. They just didn't get the call that they thought they would. But
did you think it was coming?
No, I wasn't looking for that at all. No,
I mean, did you were you convinced that they were going to make that call though? Like, were you like, oh, of course they're going to make that call?
Yeah, there was I don't know how long, because it
was a bang bang, but
right. In my head,
like when you saw it, when you were like, oh shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there's in the replay, you see a guy jump up from the courtside seats.
Oh.
You see a guy in the camera with his, back to the camera, fan jumps up at that play and then goes like this, like he's expecting the whistle, and then the whistle doesn't happen, and he's like, and then the game's over.
Speaking of courtside, man, how did we allow a Mason family to sit courtside? There's got to be a czar of courtside seats that just does not allow that to happen.
I mean, secondary, whoever wants to buy whatever is available, I don't know if there's any way to regulate that.
Unreal.
Yeah, it is. But one of the keys for me in this game, Zach, and I kept coming back to it, was SLU had a 7-point lead in the first half with about a minute and a half left. And then all of a sudden they're up 1 going into halftime. They kind of blew that lead. And they needed a 9-0 run to win it in the last 2 minutes. That's how much of a hole they had gotten in. So, I don't know what to say other than there were so many points of the second half where I'm like, man, that 7-point lead sure would have come in handy to carry into this half. Like anytime we couldn't get any separation from them, got in a hole. And it looked like, with 2 minutes left, down what, 8? I
I
can't
thought it
say I
was
felt,
over.
yeah, I can't say I felt very good about that at all.
No, I thought it was over, and certainly, you know what? Like I didn't feel good at the start of the second half. Uh, Certainly didn't feel good about 5 minutes in, and I thought it was weird because I thought we were playing better than Mason in that whole game, but it just felt like I think it was every time a technical, like, you add in the free throws, it just feels like the technical free throws feel like they're worth 2 each. Like it feels like a 2-shot technical is worth 4. And I
Because
think it's just weird, man. I don't even know if like it's a rational thing to think about, but that's the way that like my brain processes it.
well, depending on the technical foul, it may also come with a possession.
Right. No. I'm just saying, like, it always feels like way more
Yeah,
like damning than it actually is. I mean,
yeah,
but then again, like when I watch Billiken games, a 3-point lead feels like 6, a 6-point lead feels like 12. Like, regardless of the time and score, that's, to me, I'm like, my reactionary dumb brain processes scores as double what they actually are. So,
well, to me that sounds like conditioning. That's
oh yeah, no,
that's a life of being a Sleeve fan and
I
waiting
am
for the other
well
shoe.
conditioned as a Billiken fan. I don't like to say that though, because I think that I hate the idea of like it's tough being a Billiken fan, because the most fun I've had in my life are Billiken moments. So I hate when people say it's tough being a Billiken fan, because I love being a Billiken fan.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I definitely do have like this
we've
like
we've had
sky
enough
is
pain to
falling.
know.
Yeah, so much pain. Uh,
um, Go ahead.
no, let's Jimerson, man. We really saw the fruits of him getting going in the Bonaventure game. Also, screw the people in Olean complaining about leaving Jimerson in to score 9 points at the end of that game, because we needed that bad.
Yeah, it's D1, not CYC. If you got to take care of one of your starters, take care of one of your starters. Let them go off at the end of a game. It worked. The relief
Yes.
that we talked about seeing last week was real, Zach. 16 points, 4 for 5 from 3. Safe to say he had found his mojo again in this game. It wasn't one of those games where he got a dozen looks from outside, but nonetheless, he made it count when he did. And not only that, Yuri Collins, 9 points, 12 assists here, 3 turnovers. Both of these guys, they did right after Ford's second technical, with what, 3 something left in the game. They had a rough couple minutes, some turnovers, some shaky
That was
plays.
bad.
But then in the last 2 minutes, these guys were really the ones that were key to that 9-0 run. So it was a weird arc once Ford left the game. And now that I think of it, it was
Oh
probably
God, we're
more
gonna
than
get
3
into
minutes
this.
left.
We're gonna play that now.
But regardless, they were both really good in the end.
I think that that run you mentioned of turnovers and just errant passes, I think that was when I thought this game was over.
Oh yeah, and it came after Ford was ejected. So it was also sort of like, and now that I'm thinking, he was ejected a little bit earlier, but still, it was like, you want those, like when your coach takes a tee, you want to rally around that. And I'm told that Yuri ran over to Coach Ford and told him like, "Hey, just go, we got this." And then and then he proceeded to not get this for a little while, until he finally did. So who
Well,
knows?
I hold on. So Ford said we can get into it, and unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna have Chapley, because I really wanted Chap Daddy to give us the firsthand account courtside, but
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him today because I was at Cyberg's watching the Vikings game and completely forgot about it. But yeah, He said he watched the video. He watched the game on his phone. Does he not have a TV in his office?
I don't know.
Like, what? What do
Maybe.
you like? What are we doing?
I don't have a
Like,
TV in my
well,
office
but
when
is
I'm at
there not
work.
a TV in the There's got to be a TV in the locker room, right?
You know,
He watched
oh,
on his phone in a hallway.
sorry, you're talking about Ford. I thought you were talking about Chapley. I'm like, Chapley
No,
was at the
Ford.
game. What are
Who?
you talking? Yeah,
Nobody
yeah, yeah.
cares
Okay, all
about
right, all right, all right.
Chapley.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry,
Yeah, all right.
Chapley, but
Sorry. No, no, no. Yeah, so I guess he was in the locker room like he did. Yeah, of course he has. I'm sure they have screens. Other
he said
places
he
where you need to.
watched it. He said he watched it on his phone in a hallway.
Yeah, I can't explain why he chose to go where he went. My only thought was maybe he wanted to meet them as soon as they came off the floor. Maybe he wanted to be there.
He's
Uh,
like Herb Brooks at the end of Miracle. Like
yeah,
he's celebrating in the hallway. Yes.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? I
Wow.
mean, that's a you're in a state where there's a lot of adrenaline going through your body. You're probably not thinking about, where's the best screen and most comfy chair to watch the game I just got
Let me
thrown out
kick
of.
my feet up on a desk.
Right. So yeah, I don't know about who knows. Who knows? But Hargrove, 10-5 in this one, really good game. And
He's been phenomenal, Peter.
you said like his rebounding's been looking better every game. And had already mentioned that it seems to come with his return to strength and fitness. I brought up his game log here, Zach. He's averaging 5.2 points and 3.4 rebounds. Those are both his season high average numbers. Like he's worked his way up to those numbers all season. So the numbers bear out what we're seeing, that his arc has been positive. His scoring efficiency has gone up over the course of the year. Every number is better over the course of the year for him. So I think what we're seeing is definitely very real here, and a good performance here.
He's looked amazing going to the hoop too.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
determined.
I mean, how often, like, I think I said it in the SIU game to you, when he took that, I can't explain exactly what happened because it's been like weeks and beers ago, but like I looked at you and I said, Pete, he's never done that before.
Yeah.
Like he's made plays that like I've never seen him do. And
Right.
it's good to see. And he's continued. Like I feel so much more confident with him hitting a bank shot from about 2 feet off the backboard, like 2 feet away to the side of the backboard.
Sure.
Way more so than I thought, in previous years.
For me, it's always been about his decision making.
Right.
I made the point a week or two ago, I think after the St. Bonaventure game where he played 17 minutes. Like he played a good game there, and it was like, well, I think I like him in a sort of limited minutes, because over the course of too many minutes, you start to see the flaws in his game. And really, he's played more minutes the last two games: 26 against George Mason, 28 against George Washington, and he hasn't been making the same, number of mistakes that we normally see. He's only got one turnover between the two games combined. He's been a lot better. He's sharpened his game.
Yeah, I'm so happy to see him just completely break out.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge, especially if Perkins has returned to form and Pickett is kind of finding his game back after being sick. And we're going to get to that in the Washington review. After spreading out the minutes against Bonaventure and letting the bench players shine, SLU stuck with the starters mostly in this one. They went with the Mark Schmidt strategy.
Yeah, they did. Even Okoro wound up with 25 minutes to Forrester's 15. Pickett and Parker each got 13, and Hughes 9, and that was it. So that was a big difference from the game before. Now, Collins played 37 minutes, but you didn't see other starters going that far over 30 minutes. But Perkins had 30, Jimerson 32, Hargrove 26. So yeah, definitely went with his top 5 in this game. I don't know, Zach, if you think that's like matchup based, if it was sort of giving these guys another vote of confidence after a game where the minutes were a lot more spread out. But I thought that was kind of an interesting strategy nonetheless.
George Mason was +9 in rebounding, but had 17 turnovers, Pete. This is a development that is, well, quote unquote, developing in the last week.
Yeah, I'll say. But regardless, we'll take that number. 17 turnovers is not something I expected to see it, and we needed every single one of them.
If we're looking for a weakness in case we see Mason in Brooklyn, it's definitely depth. One bench point in this one, if you can get Oduro and one of their top 4 in foul trouble, not that getting him in foul trouble would have been possible in this one, because he got the Michael Jordan treatment in this one. Genuinely baffling officiating. He was being, I just allowed to do whatever he wanted. No fouls again. I just speak on it because I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it was just incredible, the officiating in this one, and here we go. A week or two after we said we haven't really talked about officiating much this year. I think we brought it up for the first time really against St. Joe's to start the league, and it was like you said, genuinely baffling in this one. Oduro got star treatment from the jump. There were 2 or 3 like really soft whistles against SLU players against him in the first 2-3 minutes, and every time the guy would just be like what, really? That's what we're doing today? But it was really just Oduro who was getting those calls. The final foul tally was SLU 19, Mason 15, and it was a bigger disparity most of the game. SLU had most of this game like 6 or more fouls than Mason a lot of the time. Mason shot 23 free throws. Thankfully, they only hit 12. SLU was 10 for 15. I mean, look, it's a home game. You can't say we deserve home cooking, but good Lord, you don't give them this ridiculous home cooking on our floor. Just kind of, I don't know, everything about it was pretty stunning to me. But I also want to talk about Travis Ford really quickly and his sideline demeanor. What was up with these technical fouls, Zach? And do you think he deserved them or not?
You know what, dude? As I think we've mentioned before, I have been highly critical of his demeanor on the sideline. I've been highly critical a lot about his personality, his personality on the sideline.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say this. Ford probably deserved that first technical. Fine. If you want to call him for being outside the coach's box, fine. But call Kim English for a technical for being outside the coach's box too, because he was many times. Second one, Ford did nothing.
Right.
Absolutely freaking nothing. And I want to say this, look, and I want to call this out, and I'm not calling this out, but there was a fan behind the Billiken bench. And I'm not saying he's wrong, and I'm not saying he did anything wrong. But when you're sitting behind the Billiken bench, this fan was berating the officials. I mean, just like worse than I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
And that's far.
Yeah.
Look, I felt he took it a little too far, but only because of where he's sitting.
Right.
You have to know where you're sitting and because if you're sitting right behind Ford and anything that comes out of your mouth can be misconstrued as coming from the bench. This is why we put the people behind the bench that we do. Yeah. This is why the SLU, the comp tickets are right behind the bench.
Friends, family, donors.
Yes.
That's who's behind the bench.
Yes. You cannot harass, abuse the officials. Abuse the officials from behind the basket all you want, but don't do it from behind the bench. It really was nothing. Appeared to just be cheering his team after a 7-0 run. Didn't make any sense for him to even try to get a technical in this one because, well, the Billikens were on the run. Regardless, the Billikens pull it out. in unbelievable fashion. And we'll take it every day and twice on Sundays, Pete.
We will. And to all the Mason fans who
Screw
are
you.
still crying about that last call that
Screw you.
Okoro did not get. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we just talked about how our coach got
Bunch of
thrown out of the
bitches.
game. Our coach got thrown out of his own gym for nothing. So like, cry me a river. You know, you guys got free free throws, free
Yes.
technical free throws for
Free
nothing.
free throws.
And you missed them. So like,
Yes.
good riddance. You know, you had the
to-
chance to win this game.
To quote the Uber driver in Office Christmas Party, bunch of bitches. Pete, let's dive into the George Washington game on Saturday the 14th. Yuri Collins, a late scratch due to illness, Pete. And I think reading between the lines, I think it's obvious kind of what the issue here is.
I mean,
the big C,
the big cloud hanging over everything. Maybe I don't know. I'm not
that C, the more recent C.
What anybody has, what the illness is,
right.
But it's been we found out about it right before the game, and later on it sounded like they may have known a day or two in advance. Regardless, I don't know for sure. I'm not one to speculate on stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to speculate, but when you say you knew ahead of time and we don't know how long he'll be out, I mean, that has been the drum that has been beaten for the last since what, March of 2020, when you're talking about players. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's anything more than an illness, Pete. I don't think there's anything reason to believe that there's more than an illness, but we do know that Travis Ford has loved to keep his player status close to the vest. I think he thinks it gives him an advantage.
Yeah, he's kind of Bill Belichick in that way. Very cagey about his reports, be they positive or negative. Keeps the information close, or in some cases makes things sound like they maybe are worse than they are. It's gamesmanship, to give them a little bit of a leg up. I'm not sure how much it actually does make an impact, but regardless, yeah. Collins was out, late scratch. We don't officially know what's going on, but nonetheless, Zach, we pulled out a win at George Washington without him.
Yeah, a little controversy before the game, though, with this Collins, with the reporting of the Collins absence. I love to get in a little Scooby-Doo scrape. But look, I'm just saying, his reporting was reporting. He decided to say that Collins wasn't on the court. So why don't you
tell people what you're referring to? Because I didn't even know what had happened until the game started.
So the GW student, like, I guess he does the radio for the student radio station for, like, he does the play-by-play. And he tweeted out that breaking news or developing story that Collins isn't on the court at warm-up. He tweeted this at 2:03 p.m. That's like 3 minutes after they take the court, which means he had to figure this out. Like he like saw it immediately as they came out. They started moving out of the tunnel, and then just decided to tweet it. And it's like, I was just like, look, like, you jumped the gun. If you're wrong here, let's stop this my whole point is, like, let's stop this thing where we try to be the first to report something to break the story. Like Daniel Frank, fine. But Daniel Frank comes out later and says, yeah, confirmed Yuri Collins not playing. Fine. No problem with that. But, like, let's not just tweet out that Yuri Collins is not out for warmups and that he may not be playing unless you know he's not playing. I don't know. It just seems like just kind of reaching for just trying to be first and getting lucky. I don't know. I'm a grumpy old man at times, so cheers to that.
Well, I'm of the mindset where, in the off chance that they are right, we don't shoot the messenger, because in this case,
I didn't say he was going to be right. I just said, look, Like, if you're wrong here, like you got to take your medicine, because I mean, how many times have we seen like throughout all of sports where people just like, and any type of news, jump the gun on things and just decide to report based on whatever, and you find out later the story's different. That's my point. My issue with journalism is far beyond SLU basketball and any other related topic. So, hey, good for him for deciding to tweet that 3 minutes after they ran on the court. Pete, I had, like I said in the beginning, I had fun with this one, man. Like, did I get nervous late in the game? Sure. When George Washington brought it in a little closer, but like, man, like, this was one of the first games where I thought we just really looked good for most of the game.
I liked our start. The middle of the first half, I didn't love. George Washington got up to an 8-point lead. I think it was 39-31 before SLU decided to go on a 25-0 run that spanned not just the end of the first half, but the first 9 minutes and 4 seconds of the second half. George Washington didn't snap our 25-point streak until the 10:56 mark of the second half. Yeah, that is, you're right. That is fun. That is fun. Now, the frustrating thing is, after that, we're up 17, and they did bring it to within, I think, 2 at one point. I think it was 66-64.
Yeah.
So yet again, Zach, we have a situation where it's like we give ourselves a lead, and we watch the lead go away, and then it's nip and tuck until the end. Luckily, we pulled it out here and come away with a win on the road in a gym where we haven't always been very good. So I don't feel great about watching a lead evaporate once again, but credit to SLU for hanging on to this one and doing it all without Yuri.
But here's my question for you, Pete. What's the point of building a lead if not to give yourself a cushion to maybe, not play so well? I mean, like, I say that and I'm kind of being jokey about it, but again, like, it's college basketball. We're not Duke, we're not Gonzaga, we're not, it's amazing that I'm saying Gonzaga as the gold standard for college basketball, not just mid-major college basketball. But again, like, this team, like, even the teams that are on par with what we thought this team would be at like, not even like the heights that this team could be, but like what we thought this team could reach realistically. They do this stuff. They give up leads, like, but what the Billikens did, and I think what we need to like appreciate, is that they bend, but they didn't break in this one, and they did it without their point guard.
But they came really close to breaking.
Correct. I'm not. Hey, Lovey Smith, baby. Lovey Smith. We just talked with the Loyola guys, Da Bears. Although he's not with the Bears anymore. So I don't know where he's at.
Well, look, regardless, we knew when we got up, they were going to throw some different looks at us. And they did that in the second half here. They threw a press at SLU kind of intermittently over the last 8 or 10 minutes. I didn't quite understand how they decided whether to go with it or not. It was pretty effective when they used it. The ball spent way too much time in Javon Pickett's hands down the stretch. Free throws, luckily, that were a little iffy for SLU throughout the game, were made down the stretch.
And whose hands were they in when they were made, though?
Yeah, I mean, that was Pickett. We started 5 of 11, and then we made 11 of the last 12. I think it was almost like he wound up with the ball so much in the backcourt at late in the game. It was like, I know they're going to foul me, and I'm kind of feeling it from the free throw line tonight. And it wasn't, it was one of those things where, like, yeah, he doesn't need to be the primary ball handler, but if you're going to foul a guy, might as well give it to the guy who's making them from the free throw line. But in addition to Pickett, who finished with 24 in this game, again, 9 of those from the free throw line, Javonte Perkins, Zach, had a huge game here.
He did. It was absolutely vintage Javonte Perkins. He had the mid-range going. He got to the basket. He had that little floater going. I love the little hitch he had in that one where he thought he got fouled, that's just like, that is beyond vintage Perkins. That's like prehistoric Perkins, where it's just like he has to adjust his shot and he still puts the prettiest mid-range jumper in. It's incredible, man. When he cooks, he is the Gordon Ramsay of college basketball.
Except he's a lot quieter. He doesn't scream at his teammates.
Who would he be? What cook would he be?
That I don't know, but what I do know is that he was cooking from the right and the left side, which was great to see. The play that really showed me that he was feeling it was ball in his hands out on the perimeter and points to the spot on the floor where he wants the screen. And I'm trying to remember who his teammate was who ran over, set a
Forrester?
screen.
It's got to, I think it was Forrester.
It wasn't Forrester, but sets him the screen right at the top of the key, and Perkins kind of hesitates a second, steps to his right, and hits a three. So that's when I knew like he was really like he was kind of feeling his old
mine was
again.
Mine was the adjusted the adjusted mid range where he thought he got fouled and he just like did the Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That was like, yep. All right.
Arms out to the side.
He's percolating tonight.
He really was. I hope his ankles and his knee are all feeling better. But he certainly showed the mentality, if not always the physicality of what he had in his game before. That swagger, it was definitely back. Another weird thing in this game, Zach. I mean, how many times have we said this year? Another game with an absurd difference in box score rebounding versus what we saw in the game. SLU was -10 in rebounding after the first half, 22-12, and then finishes the game with 6 more than George Washington. Granted, George Washington bricked a lot of shots over the 9 minutes that they did not score in the second half, but the rebounding was bad in this one, and yet and once again we wind up with more than the opponent.
I can't tell if it's proximity bias, but I've never seen a team that just cannot, like both men and women Billiken teams just have issues with like holding on to the ball. Not even necessarily like having players defend them or swipe at them. Like I'm just so tired of like rebounds like the one where Pickett lost the ball and it ended in a dunk for George Washington. Like that is the most extreme example of every Billiken game this season.
Yeah, and I noticed a few times, like with Forrester, he'd have good position, he'd have the ball, and then it would get hacked out of his hands on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they need to do in terms of rebounding, but it's something they definitely need to clean up. In general, I don't know. I think it's
going to kill us one game.
It is. I mean, it arguably has.
I'm saying like if this team starts to cook offensively and defensively, and we run up against, and you go in and you play Dayton on the road, you have to rebound. You have to rebound a UD Arena better than you have been.
Yeah, that's I mean, quite frankly, horrible matchup for us. With Holmes and Kamara, and we'll get to that later, but the rebounding definitely needs to be polished up before then. You know, we said one of the keys to this game coming in was Yuri's on-ball defense on Bishop. Yuri doesn't play this game. Bishop does. That's a problem because he's a guy who scores 22 points a game. Luckily, though, he ends up with 14 in this one on 5 of 23 shooting. He was just 3 of 15 from behind the arc. So SLU did manage to slow him down despite Collins being out, which very grateful because, you know, he's a guy who's capable of going off.
Yeah, and let's talk about the man who had probably his best defensive game as a Billiken, and I would love to toot my own horn on this one because everything worked out in the way that I had explained why he had not played defense well. Pete, who's that man?
That would be Gibson Jimerson, Zach.
Yes, and why do you think he was playing defense so well, Pete? Actually, I'll just answer it for myself because I'm a self-important asshole. Well, it's because Javonte Perkins was going off, and that allowed him to have a little more free reign on offense, a little more rest on offense, therefore giving him a little bit more energy on defense to handle Bishop. That's my take, and I'm sticking to it.
My take is that he listens to our show and knew what he had to do. I mean, really, so he played 40 minutes in this game.
I bet Gibson listens to the pod.
He played 40 minutes. He was 2 of 3 for 3. So he kind of let this game come to him. He didn't do too much. It was a quiet performance, but he ends up with 10 and 6. It's just an effective game. He didn't get in foul trouble. He didn't turn it over much. I mean, he just played a clean, quiet game, and it was fine. He saw that his teammates were feeling it, and he let him go.
I want to talk about another big factor in this game. We kind of glossed over it, and that's Javon Pickett. It was JP squared in this game. He had 24. 9 of those were at the free throw line at the end, because he was mostly with the ball when GW is fouling late. But I mean, like, besides the baffling last possession of the first half, Javon Pickett was really nice in this one.
Yeah, he was. I think he may have been kind of slowed down. I mean, mysterious illness we talked about with Yuri a few games ago. He missed because of that and didn't, he kind of phased his way back in after that. But he kind of looked like he did in his most effective games earlier this season here. I think what we saw in this with Yuri out, a lot of other veteran guys just kind of stepped up and just played more assertive. And so did Larry Hughes Jr., who started in his place. So, I mean, to me, it was a team effort, but it was really a night where a couple fifth year guys got to shine a little bit and maybe be a little more assertive on offense than they normally would be with Yuri running the show.
I want to talk about Larry Hughes Jr. because I thought what he brought against George Washington was incredibly serviceable, but I thought he had some shortcomings in this one, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was never going to be a starter, right?
Right. No. Yes. Hold on. Before we get into it, I'm just saying that, like, he was fantastic for what he brought, but he definitely showed some inexperience.
He did. He played, his defense needs work. He played 26 minutes. He didn't do a whole lot offensively. We've seen him in recent games do more in fewer minutes.
I wouldn't even complain about his defense. I just meant, like, decision-making offensive, like taking shots that maybe he shouldn't have. I thought a lot of, and I don't want to be too highly critical of him, but I thought most of our issues came when he was in the game in this one, funny enough, because I thought he was going to be a key to why we were going to play really well. Like, when he started, I was like, okay, Larry Hughes is going to be instrumental into how we win this game. And it turned out that he was kind of more instrumental in the stagnation of we didn't play so well on offense when he was in. He would take shots that maybe he shouldn't have. I don't know, but that was just my take on it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to look up plus minus, and unfortunately, I think we get those on the live stats, and they don't keep them on the official website. But regardless, I think that's right, and I wonder how much of his game is just going to be kind of matchup dependent. We've seen him thrive in certain games, and this wasn't one of them. But still, freshman walk-on starting in place of a senior.
Freshman walk-on starting in place of the top assist man in college basketball. Just like, right. I mean, that's just preposterous.
It is. And he gave us a steady hand and acquitted himself well. He's a freshman, he'll be fine. And I'm looking forward to him getting a lot more run in the future. He needed some work, but he'll be fine.
Yuri Collins, him being out and this team thriving at multiple points in this game, what does that tell you?
Well, I guess it comes with the caveat that George Washington is not a great defensive team. That's number one. Like I got to go ahead and say that this didn't happen against one of the better defensive teams. This didn't happen against VCU, for example, a defense that's tough. But we've said this a lot this season, or variations of this a lot this season, that Yuri has some kind of tendencies to over dribble, and sometimes the ball can get a little bogged down. Sometimes he hangs onto it too long. Sometimes he gets in too deep or off his feet and doesn't really have a plan. We saw the ball in this game with Hughes or whoever else was running the point at the time. The ball moves more, it moves earlier. It's just a completely different flow to the offense. And I think it gave guys like Perkins in particular a little more freedom to operate. But it's not just Collins, like when he's out there, the other guys look like they're always focused on getting it back to him. Like if the first look they have isn't a pass inside or a shot or whatever, it looks like they're always trying to get it back to Collins. And that wasn't the case here today. Things just moved a little bit more freely. So I think you pose the question, does this kind of change how we run the offense? Is that even possible when your offensive leader is Yuri Collins?
Yeah, I think I'd like to see, to where Yuri Collins, and I think I tweeted it out, is, he's a driver of the offense, not the driver of the offense. There's no reason that the ball has to be in Yuri Collins' hands on offense. It's certain, and Travis Ford has said this, he's talked about when he played at Kentucky, when it was nice that he could just go stand in the corner and take a possession off, and that's fine. I'd like to see Yuri Collins involved in the offense, not so much standing in the corner, but I'd like to see the ball in Javonte Perkins' hands across the timeline. And I'd like to see him, I'd certainly like to see us, put the ball in his hand, say 10 seconds left on the shot clock. Maybe not go with Yuri Collins right there. I love Yuri Collins, setting up the offense, setting up the play, getting it moving. But if all else fails, give the ball to Javonte. And also I'd like to say, what if you give him under 50% at, like every once in a while, let Javonte cook. Like, I don't know, run the isolation for Javonte. Maybe let Javonte dribble drive, and if he's got the shot, take it. If he doesn't, kick it out. We've got Jimerson. We've got Pickett has shown he can shoot. Hargrove has come along big time from three. We've got the shooters, and Perkins has the ability to drive and rise up over people the way Yuri Collins doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think all those things are true, and I think now it comes when he comes back, whether that's Loyola or the next game, LaSalle. These are certainly some interesting questions have been raised with this game, and you're talking about a lot of veteran players. You're talking about maybe some egos here, and it's up to the head coach to kind of handle that and how you move forward with it. But I wonder how much Yuri welcomes the idea of sort of not laying back on certain possessions, but just moving the ball earlier in the possession, quite frankly.
I
often.
I don't think that, and this may be controversial, but I don't think Yuri Collins pro prospects. I don't think he's going to be like, if he's going to be an NBA prospect, I don't think it hinges on this season at all. I don't think it matters what he does this season, whether he's the driving force of this offense, whether he's the best assist man in the nation. I don't think it matters. I think it matters what he does in the draft, or not the draft, the pre-draft workouts. I truly think that he needs to, I think winning will do more for his stock than individual accolades. Everybody knows he can dish out dimes like nobody's business, but can he win? I think being a winner is what Jordan Goodwin has built his reputation on. Sorry, not being a winner, but making winning plays is what Jordan Goodwin has made his reputation on. And if you're a winner in college basketball, you're making winning plays. So I think Yuri Collins really needs to take a look. And I think, and I asked this question, Travis has been a creature of habit, but does he manage this team differently going forward? Does this make a difference? Can he come up with a way to make Yuri Collins important in this offense, but not the offense?
I guess time will tell. I'll believe. And normally with Ford, I believe it when I see it, because he is a creature of habit. So yeah, it's one thing losing more than you should in a season does is it sort of frees you up. Well, necessity is the mother of invention, as I guess what I'm trying to say. When you need to win games, you're more willing to try things, and maybe that comes up here, especially maybe if Yuri comes back and we don't play a good offensive game or something like that. So time will tell, and I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I'd really like to see. I think Loyola, if Yuri Collins is back, I think it's a great test run. I mean, yeah. Loyola, you've got two teams in this conference. Now, LaSalle has come on lately and played better basketball, but you've got two teams that have really shown themselves to be dregs of the A10 so far this season. And, again, LaSalle has come around and played better. Beating UMass, obviously, which we did not. But yeah, I think this is a good week to test that. As whenever Yuri Collins comes back. Hopefully he comes back for Loyola. But if it's not, let's run it against LaSalle. Who cares?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's take it around the A10, Pete. Tuesday the 10th. VCU drubs Loyola 78-64. Dayton beats Fordham 82-58. Wednesday the 11th, Richmond beats Davidson 61-57. Duquesne over St. Joe's 92-80. LaSalle ekes out that win I mentioned against UMass 78-77. Another 1-point game, Rhode Island beats Bonaventure 68-67. Friday 10 in the A10, truly a scary Friday the 13th when we have to watch VCU and Dayton at the same time. This game was ridiculous, Peter.
It was. I can't believe how happy I was by the end of this game to watch VCU upset Dayton on their own floor. I just knew how mad it would make Dayton fans, especially because they had that game. I mean, they were in command of that one for most of the game. To see them cough it up late. Oh man, was that satisfying.
Are they still going to go 18-0, Pete?
People are asking.
That's the one thing. That's the thing that, like, I think they truly did open themselves up to, like, just full on, like, trolls, like, by just talking about even talking about going 18-0.
Yeah,
like, they aren't that. They were never that good.
Well, that's the thing. It's like they're talking like they're Gonzaga in their conference, and it's really like, well, this isn't even the best version of a Dayton team.
No,
and you're speculating over what seed you might get if you go 18-0 in the league. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Number one, you're not going 18-0, as they found out pretty quickly, and number two, your at-large resume isn't good because you have no quality wins. You haven't beaten anybody. I think SMU is probably their best win. And they're
better at soccer than they are at basketball right now.
Yeah, so it's like Dayton beats the bad teams and loses to good teams, and that's not the most compelling argument for an at-large bid. So yeah, I don't think anybody in this league is really looking at an at-large bid this season. Nobody's gonna run the table. Everybody's going to stumble, and nobody's going to have any quality wins. Is the problem.
So funny story about this game is I actually turned it off and, like, rolled over to go to sleep, and I started getting, like, I had like 8 texts in a row from a from someone, and I was like, "Would you shut up?" And then I looked at our group chat for for Slew Twitter, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So I turned on the replay, like the last 5 minutes. I couldn't believe it. I had to watch it for myself. It was unreal.
Yeah.
And I watched it again the next day too. Twice. I watched it twice.
It was that satisfying.
Saturday the 14th, St. Joe's. I love Saturday A10. Just blanket slates of A10, just taking up my entire Saturday. Like nobody call me, nobody like invite me to anything. I'm watching A10 basketball all day on Saturday.
Yeah, it must be nice. I was at back-to-back birthday parties.
How was the skating rink, by the way, Pete?
George Mason Davidson was on. I mean, what more can you ask for? But then I had a 6-year-old tugging on my sleeve.
Did you get side by sides or inline?
Side by sides or in the no.
Which skates did you get?
I didn't get skates. I'm not gonna skate. I'm not gonna skate. I'm almost 40. I'm not getting on roller skates.
Oh, you're a kid at heart, Pete. Come on.
No, he can learn on his own. He's fine.
All right. Saturday the 14th, St. Joe's beats Loyola 86-55. George Mason 67, Davidson 65, and again in a result I surely didn't expect. Bonaventure 71, Richmond 63, Fordham 66, LaSalle 64. No smoke in Gola on this one. UMass 75, URI 65. Pete, why don't you run us down the survivor pool picks for last week?
Yeah, so last week, Zach took George Mason over Loyola on the 7th and got the win. I took Dayton over Fordham on the 10th and got the easy win there. The podcast, we went with UMass over LaSalle on the 11th and lost. I think that wiped out over 60 of the survivor pool entries, unfortunately. So it was a popular pick that blew up in all of our faces, Zach.
Yeah, the smoke rose for LaSalle. This week, Pete, what are we picking?
So you've got Richmond over Rhode Island on the 17th, which I like. George Mason over GW on the 16th is what I picked. The thought being both of those teams are coming off 2 days rest for that game. And they are, local, staying local, but I kind of like Mason at home over GW. And then for the pod, we went with Dayton over Davidson at home on the 17th.
I think we got this wrong in the notes. I took Dayton over Davidson because everybody was giving me shit for loving Dayton. And the podcast has Richmond over URI.
Okay, well then you better message SB Unfurled.
Son of a mother.
And edit my.
Well, no, I took it right from the message, dude.
You've got Richmond over, per the message, you've got Richmond over our URI.
Ew. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. I don't care either way. I didn't want.
If you want to switch it, switch it.
No, I don't care. I don't care.
Okay.
It's fine. Just you made me look bad on my cool little graphic that I made, but we'll forget about it. Oh, God. I need some salsa, Pete.
I think you do. I think you need a salsa break, Zach.
Yeah. What you're not. I'm not the same when I'm hungry.
No. Yeah, you get a little loopy when you're hungry. But yeah, this week I want to talk about our friends at 2 Men and a Garden Salsa and their kitchen hub STL project, where, as we've talked about in the past, they partner with local producers to make products in their own place in St. Louis, maybe things that you've had in a restaurant, and they want to produce it for grocery stores, like Antonino's, their house marinara sauce, for example. Other things are not restaurant products, but things that they sell anyway. Cocktail syrups from River City Craft would be an example of that. They've got a Blessed Bee honey company. But one individual that they've partnered with that I thought was a cool story, a guy named Drew Davis, 17 years old. He's from Hillsborough in Jefferson County, and he's got cerebral palsy and has started a company called Crippling Hot Sauce, kind of to own his disability and to do something special, to do something different. He's become a little entrepreneur of his own, and his hot sauce has really taken off. He did some pilot batches and sold out quickly. He sold his first 100 bottles in something like 35 minutes, and now he's partnered with Kitchen Hub to produce larger batches of his product, and I think they're going to start selling them on shelves around the area, kind of see how it goes, in Jefferson County, and expand from there. But I thought this was a really unique partnership, and so definitely be sure and look for this product. It comes from our buddies at Two Men in a Garden. It comes from a kid with a cool story and a unique perspective, who's trying to do something special, and not let his disability own him, but to do it the other way around. I thought that was pretty cool, and you can't find it yet on the website, twomeninagarden.com, but follow their social media, and also follow Kitchen Hub STL on Instagram to read more about this.
God, that's a great story. I love that name of the hot sauce too. Hey, Drew Davis, if you happen to come across this, we would love to buy some of that hot sauce from you. We'd love to get in touch, and I'm sure Pete would like to have some sent. He'll buy some, and you can.
I'll order it.
Yeah, I will definitely order it too. We have awesome previews for you. We talked with the Gola Boys. We talked with 2Ramblers podcast. I mean, the hijinks were off the charts, Pete.
They sure were, Zach.
Yes, they were. So we're going to kick it over first to the to the 2Ramblers podcast for the Wednesday night preview, and then switch it right over after that to the LaSalle preview. Billiken fans, it's a double dose of in-conference podcast. I don't know. We got two in-conference podcasters on the show this week. Loyola, LaSalle. This time it's Loyola. Next it'll be LaSalle. We've got Matt Dobschutz and Sammy D on the show. They're here to preview Wednesday night's matchup. Billikens, Ramblers, Chicago, Illinois. What's up, guys? How we doing?
Love it. Great to be here, guys. Great to be here. Now, are you both in St. Louis, or are you in different parts of the country?
I'm in Cincinnati. Zach's in St. Louis.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. We're both native St. Louisans. Both. I'm lifelong Billiken. Pete's lifelong Billiken fan. I think
pretty much.
Yeah. For the most part.
We're both St. Louis born and raised too.
Yes,
so.
exactly.
And alums of SLU.
But
yes.
Pete, you saw the light and moved out of town.
Well, my wife won. It's basically what it comes down to. I met her at SLU, and she's from here. Are you guys both in Chicago?
I'm in the Chicago area, and Sam and I grew up in the north side of Chicago, but he's now in Virginia now.
Yes.
He's closer to Richmond.
Yeah, you're in.
You got tired of that trash ass pizza you guys got over there.
Oh, boy.
Hey, wow. Hey.
What is St. Louis known for? Right? I mean,
I guess
Applebee's. I don't know. I haven't been in a while.
It's your neighborhood bar and grill, man. That's where we have NBA draft parties.
Let me tell you, I've been to St. Louis once on a family trip. We came to the City Museum, and
you're welcome.
I think it was great. I think it was in 2011. Anyway, I'm driving into the city. I'm a huge Cub fan. I'm driving in the city, and it says, "Congratulations, world champions Cardinals." And I go, I didn't even know they were in the World Series. Like when the Cubs are out of it, I just turn off baseball. I don't pay attention to baseball.
Well, you would, yeah, exactly. You wouldn't know what happened in the postseason anyway around that time.
Yeah. So congratulations, 2011 world champions. Loved it.
Oh, well, we appreciate the love. Welcome to the conference.
Thank you.
It's been a warm welcome in every sport except for cross country. So, I mean, what is the temperature of Loyola moving into the Atlantic 10? Because I mean, like, the men's soccer team is probably the only like team centric sport that has really kind of surpassed expectations.
I believe the women's volleyball team.
Oh,
only
I'm
lost
sorry.
one game.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I
I'm
forgot one.
sorry.
think,
You
I
guys,
think literally is the best
I'm
ever Atlantic
sorry.
10 season.
I'm sorry. We just tweeted it out today too. You know what? We talked about it with the Gola boys, and we didn't preface it with you guys. I've been out. My buddy's from Minnesota, so I took him to the local Vikings bar to watch the Vikings play. Unfortunately, my bandwagon Vikings fandom.
Cheers.
Yes, thank you. Did not bode well for the purple and yellow. But
that was a beautiful win by the Giants, by the way.
Sorry. So let me go ahead and rephrase that. The volleyball team has been, besides cross country, we're talking about, we deal mostly in the team sports.
Yes.
The volleyball team, obviously volleyball being the main sport at Loyola since basketball has went to the Final Four. They're the only one that has really lived up to like A10 standard, I would say. What's the general tone among Loyola fans regarding the move to the A10?
Dabra, I'll let you start off.
Well, I think it's mixed. I mean, I think a lot of people liked being kind of the cream of the valley, and now we're, back at the bottom trying to work our way up. So I kind of thought, it'd be rough the first couple games, and then I thought we'd get some Jesuit matchups, and after we got the Heathens out of the way, we'd start winning. But then we met St. John's this week, and hey, guess what? They're good too. They beat us. So
hold on, that was St. Joe's, by the way.
Or St. Joe's, right?
All right,
Sorry,
we're even now. We're even.
My bad.
Now.
My bad. St. Joseph's. Yeah, I was trying to do research on them, and that was. I feel like every team now I'm learning as I go here, but I think I think some people are kind of like panicking, and then I think other people are kind of like, well, we got 11 new players this year, we got a second-year coach, and we just jumped up a weight class in terms of a conference. So what maybe we were a little too idealistic. I mean, there were people picking us like 4 and 5 in the conference. I didn't pick us that, but I thought that would be nice, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
But I think overall, I mean, I think the athletic department thought, hey, we can compete within the A10, and the volleyball has shown that. Soccer is showing that. I think softball will in the spring, and so I think the spring sports will come around as well. But everything kind of rides with the men's basketball team, and by their struggling, everyone's like freaking out. But really, as a whole, I think the athletics department is really, I think, positioned to do really well. And I think they have a good plan in place as they move forward. And so I don't think anyone foresaw this start to the A10 season for men's basketball.
So Matt, you just said you've got 11 new players this season. Is it really just Welch and Norris who are returning? Is there anybody else who you had last season?
We had Marquise also, Kennedy.
Okay, Kennedy, right.
And then there was also St. Thomas had very limited action last season in his freshman year, and then has really had limited action this year.
Jacob Hudson too, who's a center and but has barely been playing, and we're kind of scratching our heads as podcasters trying to figure out why some of these guys don't play. We don't know if it's a coaching issue or a scheme issue. I don't know what it is, but there's a couple of the guys who played for us last year. Even, I think Huddy played in the Sweet 16 game.
Yep.
Against Illinois, and he's not getting any minutes right now. So we're not quite sure what's going on with some of the switches and, what they're doing with the schemes and stuff. But so
You mentioned coaches and schemes, and of course, there's some familiarity, I think, with Billiken fans and Loyola and Rick Majerus and Porter Moser, and then now your coach. Now, how much has the coaching staff and the team retained that Porter Moser style, and how much has the new coach kind of gone his own way?
Well, I think from the Porter Moser era, there's only one other coach that's was on that team, and London Dakubu I think it was the video guy when Porter was here, and he got promoted. So, but yeah, so there is obviously a lot of Porter in the coaching, but I really think Drew Valentine has made a point of saying, hey, we're going to take what we've built, a foundation, and then expand upon it and bring his own background of, he's studied under some really great coaches. If you watch any game, they mention Tom Izzo, and then from his time at Michigan State as a grad assistant, and then he played under the guy at Oakland University in Michigan, and who's a well-renowned coach whose name totally escapes me at the moment. And so it's like, I think he brings all of that into what this new team is and his new coaching staff. And
his dad's a coach too.
Yeah.
A high school coach. So obviously he's been around coaching a long time.
Yeah. And his coaching staff is really diverse from around the country. And so it is really, it really looks a lot different than Porter's group and from a couple of years ago. And so it definitely has his stamp, and they're trying to instill. And I think he said this even last year when he stepped into the role, and then when the four guys came back, the super seniors, he made a point. We're not changing the language, we're not changing the culture, we're just adding a little flavor to it. So
who's the better drinker, Porter or Drew Valentine? Porter was known to throw around the credit card at the college bars here for fans.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, Porter's definitely a little more of an extrovert. I think.
Yeah,
Drew's more intense. So I think Porter more be a guy you want to have a beer with.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah,
he was notorious, especially in the early days of his tenure at Loyola, where he was buying hot dogs for students so they could get them to come to games. So.
Oh, he's buying pizzas. I mean, he was buying pizzas, and now I heard he's doing that at Oklahoma. He's running out with pizzas before the game.
Yeah.
So he's really into that kind of rah stuff. So
I love that though. Like that's what you need. I think.
Yeah. We needed it because our program really.
When he came in, they would average on, for a home conference game, 150 people.
Now you have the school spirit of Gryffindor.
Yeah, we love scarves,
Yeah. Why not?
We were walking, I gotta give them credit though. Between Sister Jean and those scarves, I went to the Pittsburgh for the round 1 last year, and everywhere we went, people were like yelling out across the street, "Oh, Ramblers!"
Yeah.
So it's like just that
the brand is off the charts good.
Yeah.
It may be a little dorky, but go with it. Like it's working like crazy.
Yeah. Because now I'm in Southeast Virginia, so south of Richmond. So VCU, Richmond, everyone's around me. And I wear the gear, and everyone now, they recognize the name even before we jumped into the A10. And so, I definitely, it's a brand name. And that was something too that Drew really said, latched on to when he came on board, was like, this is a brand. This is we're now a nationwide team name that people recognize. And I think that's what some kind of has been frustrated about this year, is that teams are still thinking we're Loyola that went to the Final Four from a couple years ago. And unfortunately, the team is not matched up to that. And so teams are like, hey, they're really getting up. Like, this is their game, because if they beat Loyola, this is a big thing. And, we're not matching that intensity, and it's showing in the box scores.
What's up with the blurs on the baseline, man? Who came up with that though? Okay. Like, your brand is sick, but like the blurs ain't it.
Okay, listen now. Sammy and
I'm stepping back.
Sammy
I
and
know
I
this. I may have gone through your Twitter history. I found this.
Sammy and I are older. And so we kind of cater, our podcast caters to fans who,
You guys are drive time.
went to school in the 90s, right? 90s, maybe
90s callback.
Yeah, we go back a little bit, and no one ever called them no one ever called them the blurs ever. And this is a newer thing. This is Gen Z. This is a millennial thing. And even Coach Drew, who's young too, he loves calling them blurs. They'll say God bless and go blurs. I just have personally said this is the kid thing. I'm just going to let them go with this. But if someone my age says blurs, I want to slap them in the face.
We have Team Blue here.
I do think it looks bad on the baseline. I really think that looks. I took my 17-year-old the other day, and he goes, "Why did they put blurs? Why didn't they put ramblers or something? It just looks a little classless." So I'm not a big fan of that. So I like your little guy though. What's the thing in the middle? What's the big?
Pete, go ahead. Since I've been an asshole and just taken over this interview.
Yeah. So that's the Billiken. And he's a good luck charm. He's a mythological figure. Mm-hmm. They were really popular, 100 years ago, turn of the century. It's a good luck charm. It comes out of Alaskan and Japanese Pacific culture.
Because that makes total sense being in St. Louis.
Well, it became a good luck charm that kind of was
it was like the Furby or the troll doll.
It was the kind of thing like banks. They were good luck charms at banks. They were a sign of good fortune. I think it's all about a sign of good fortune. And so we just happened to be nicknaming our, football team at the time. Those were really popular. Him. Yeah, right. That's right.
If you go watch the first season of Deadliest Catch, there is the Billiken ship.
Oh,
one of the vessels is called the Billiken. So no, it's funny because you guys have blurs on the sideline. I'm just glad we haven't put Team Blue on the baseline yet. That's our coach's, that's Travis Ford's rally cry for the team, but has been brought into the marketing of the program.
Can I ask a question?
You can ask as many questions as you want.
All right. This is kind of like a blurs question for you guys. What's up with your coach's hair? Is that like a comb over? Is that a piece? What is
I've never thought about his hair.
Take a look at it. You can't unsee it. When you see it on the sideline, I find myself just watching his hair.
It's
just because Porter had good hair doesn't mean you can come at Travis Ford's hair, all right?
I'm not coming at it. I just was curious what the deal is with his hair, because I can't tell if it's a comb over or
I think it's fine.
I don't think it's a comb over. I think it's just it's maybe not as thick as it used to be, and you just kind of you just try and give it a little volume there in front. It's getting a little wispy, and
Right. Well, I know
I know all about the wispies.
A little big sexy hair hairspray. It works.
So to the basketball.
Do we have to?
You guys have lost 6 straight, and I'm curious if there's anything you can kind of pin down at what's going on here, because from our perspective, there are some pretty big numbers in the points allowed column for Loyola, and that really surprised me, because I always have kind of thought of that as a program that defends pretty well. What's going on in this particular losing streak? If there's anything that you guys can kind of identify that's leading to this, unwelcome to the A10 moment for you.
Well, I spoke to this in our last podcast, the 2Ramblers podcast, number 1 in the A10, was the fact that last year we had the defensive player of the year in Lucas Williamson. We had another all defensive team in Ahir Ugwak, who might as well have been the defensive player of the year. And then there was a third guy, his name is Tate Hall, and if there would have been a second team defensive team, he would have been on that as well. And so you had really like 3 guys that just locked down the court. And so every game against, when the Ramblers would play, there was inevitably there was a stretch where the opponents would not score for 3 or 4 minutes. And it was just like, you just knew that was going to happen. And fast forward to this year, those three guys are gone, and you bring out, guys that, really as part of the defensive, makeup were not a part of that. And they were role players. They would come in for 2-3 minutes, and now they're asked to be played 10, 25 minutes. And that's a huge ask. And so now they're just, the defensive intensity is just not as what it was that, was the staple of Loyola the last, 5-6 years. And that all because you had a huge portion of the defensive identity was, graduated and left. And, there wasn't the ability to pass on that torch, because those guys, they played, Lucas Williamson and those guys would play 35, 40 minutes, if able. And so, coming into this year, the defensive, you're basically asking guys that never played, or, now to play, regular, big minutes. And it's just like, that's a huge ask. And so the defensive thing has been something that, Loyola fans have always been like, why are we not playing better defense? Because like, these guys have never played defense.
Yeah.
You're asking people to do something that they've never been asked to do.
Well, in the Valley too, Coach Drew said this the other day. He goes, in the Valley, when we would scheme against a team, we might have one big, one good guard. And now, you're looking at teams with 3 or 4 players on each one of these A10 teams that can beat you.
Yeah.
When we were playing St. Joseph's the other day, we were letting a couple guards shoot threes. All of a sudden, they just went crazy from the 3-point line. Obviously the scheme was let them shoot threes. We're going to focus on, the interior, and they burned us. And that's happened almost in every game. There's been players that happened against DePaul. It happened against some other teams where players that typically you wouldn't worry about were just burning us because we just didn't have the talent to close on them or to switch to them.
Yeah. And then even thinking like to the VCU game, last week was, that first half, Loyola looked like, hey, this is the team everyone recognizes, offensively and defensively. And then the second half, VCU they pressed, and then they ran, and like, we just didn't have an answer. And then there's this guy who came out.
How about the West Virginia kid?
Yeah, the West Virginia, Shriver said, hold my beer. I'm going to, keep raining threes for the next, couple days, and then continued it at Dayton, So, yeah, I think it's just, and then the other thing is the 2 guys that are the holdovers from last year, Kennedy and Norris, are 6 feet if you're generous. And I just think, they can athletically stay with the guys in the guards in the A10, but like, they're not long armed. And as I've seen, like the VCU and then Davidson or George Mason, just springy guys that just can jump out of the gym. And, those kind of guards have always caused Loyola trouble. But last year you had Lucas Williamson, who was one of the best on-ball defenders in the country. And he could be able to say, hey, your 2 guard is not going to get anything. And a lot of games that was the case.
How tall is Yuri Collins, by the way?
He's listed at 6 foot, but I think that's probably in shoes.
Yeah. Well, so small guards can do well in this league.
That's been the case historically
too.
George,
I mean, our best years were with guys that were under 6'3". Jordair Jett, Mike McCall, Kwame Mitchell.
And in the league too, you look at some of the most successful guards historically, from Chaz Williams, Jameer Nelson.
Right.
You've got Jacob Gilliard at Richmond. I mean, this has always been a league where there are multiple small guards thriving at any given time. So it's certainly possible, but
it's different though. We've grabbed coaches that are more familiar with big time programs that lean bigger. So it's been very interesting to see the evolution of A10 guards.
That was something that we talked about at the beginning of the year of, because now you got Archie Miller up in Rhode Island and Frank Martin up in UMass. It's like, we're bringing coaches that are to the A10 that just like, these are SEC, Big Ten. These aren't coaches that are just kind of, moving up. They may have been at a Power 6 and are coming back down, where it's like then they're bringing the persona or the perception that, hey, they know how to coach, players that could go to the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. You look at the coaches right now, and it's clearly a league that's having a down year, but the potential is there to really to bounce back in a big way in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So one of the interesting things is that obviously this will be the first matchup in the A10 between the Billikens and the Ramblers. Obviously there's a lot that Billiken fans don't know as far as the Rambler roster, but going even further than that, who should Billiken fans know about that nobody else knows about? Does that make sense, or am I absolutely the dumbest person on earth?
No, Zach, that's a good question. No, I mean, unfortunately, the lineup has been very small as far as the amount of people being used. And so everyone has heard about Phil Alston now, or as we like to call him, the Manimal, because
it's not a bad name.
He is a man among boys, and he really is an animal when he gets the ball. And so it's awesome to see. And unfortunately against VCU, he was in foul trouble the whole night. And so, he didn't play pretty much except the last 10 minutes of the game.
He's definitely the headline guy,
Right.
know, when teams look at us. I mean, and he's a guy I think that fits well in this A10 league. And it's crazy because he was playing in Division II in some Pennsylvania, Scholastic League last year. And so he
he was definitely playing Sisters Marys of the Poor.
Yeah, we looked up some of the teams he was playing. And
Good Lord.
I'm telling you guys have never heard any.
Hold on. He was I've never heard of Cup. Pete, he was playing for California University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Is that an online school?
The Vulcans, the mighty Vulcans.
There's also Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
Is that
so? Yeah, I don't know where that naming convention comes from, but oddly, Pennsylvania has a few of those schools.
But he is definitely a number one, the guy to be looking out for, and you cannot miss him. I mean, he's huge.
And when he's on, like it's like
he literally is the epitome of a human highlight reel.
How did they find this guy?
Honestly, we don't know.
Yeah,
there has not been the story, which I that's the one thing about the Ramblers that I find somewhat annoying is like there's like content gold that's just hasn't been mined yet, and we're like, what are we doing?
I don't want to be rude here, but I'm just gonna read his bio. Started all 33 games for the Vulcans and averaged 21 points, 10.8 rebounds per game in his first season as starter. Shot 53.8%, 279 to 519 from the field, and also contributed 1.8 assists and 1.9 blocks per contest. Second in NCAA Division II with 21 double-doubles, and paced the Atlantic region, which combines of over 40 schools, with 692 points, 358 rebounds. Good Lord.
Yeah, he's a baller.
Yeah. I mean, Sam got me the jersey for my birthday. I mean,
is he a center?
How many times do you get a jersey of a or not a grad transfer, a transfer portal guy? I mean, he's become our favorite player like in 12 weeks.
So, like, what position does he play? Because I think Billiken fans are going to be a little nervous here because we have had, up until recently, right, we've had extreme problems with power forwards. And Philip Alston's a 6'6" junior, and he weighs 225. Up until the George Mason game, when we put Pickett and Hargrove on Ogiaco, we have had serious issues with the classic four. Would you call him a classic four?
I'd call him
I'd say he's a four.
Yeah, I mean, but he can. One thing to his game this year that he's added that he did not have last year, he's just come out to the 3-point line and he started raining threes. And everyone's looking at him like, what in the world is this guy? Because he's, back to the basket, or high flying dunks. And all of a sudden he just pops out to the 3-point line and starts raining threes. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
So he is a 4, but he's in a 3 body. But I mean,
And he also
Pickett versus Alston is going to be an absolute banger of a matchup, Peter.
He manages our tip-offs too, by the way, which is
I saw that in his little slideshow.
Yeah, because he literally jumps out of the gym.
He looks ridiculous in a suit, by the way.
Guys, you guys are older. I'm one of these guys. I don't ever want to talk to a student athlete.
Did he just call me older?
Well,
but you're not like, you didn't just graduate last year.
That's a good point.
Right. So
I mean, you have actually real jobs.
When I go to these games, I'm a huge fan, but like if I'm standing next to a student athlete, I feel a little weird as a 52-year-old guy, right? Hey, Philip Alston. And I just happened to be talking to his parents the other day. It just happened. I was saying hello to them as I was leaving, and he walks up on a night he got a double-double. And he's like, Dad, I got a double-double. And he bumped into me. His shoulder bumped into me, and his shoulder was like where my head is. And if he's 225, he is all, I want to say he's more than 225, but it's just all, it's like a brick wall. And I felt, I slipped out. Like I was like, this is, but he is a big dude. Like he is a big dude. And we saw him play against UIC, and we had kind of these courtside seats. And
whoa, humble brag.
Yeah,
humble brag on the pod.
Second row.
But yeah,
but we sat there, and to see him maneuver, with other players. I mean, there's definitely something about him. He's a beast, and he's a tough matchup. So yeah, if you guys have had trouble with the 4.
Yeah,
he's
provided trouble when he's on the floor. He's provided trouble for every game he's been in. But the other problem is that there's no one backing him up as providing other trouble, and that's been a big issue. But another guy to be looking out for, a guy that we affectionately called Benny Buckets, Ben Schweiger. He's a 3. He's your quintessential 3. 6'6", 6'7" guard, but can go out from behind the 3, but also drive to the bucket. He's had a couple thunderous dunks, one against Davidson that comes to mind, the one against Stanford comes to mind. But at times he can just be vacant.
He's a redshirt freshman, so it's
redshirt freshman,
still learning as he goes.
Yeah, but then of course the guy that the starter, Braden Norris, is a guy that when he's not playing the ball and he's off ball, he can just shoot lights out, and it can be one of those games. Clemson was one of those games where he just was like raining threes, and provided a huge lift. And so it's like when he's on, it's scary. Vanderbilt proved that last year, where he was I think he had 18 and 6 assists. And so, but that's been what's been frustrating about this year is you have those moments of brilliance and flashes of brilliance, but they're for 4 minutes. They're not for 40. And we had one game. Clemson, they're undefeated in the ACC. They literally went into Duke and just thumped them. And Loyola beat them by 19. And just like, what are we doing? It's like this doesn't make any sense. And then we lose by 30-something to St. Joe's. I think the Hawk's still flapping his wings.
So basically any outcome is possible.
Oh, I totally think we're going to lose by 30 to the Billikens.
Well, we're not a good road team. I think
I don't care. We lost to St. Joe's. They had literally not been competitive in any game.
Sam, I think you got to go with anything could happen.
Anything could happen.
It could happen.
We came.
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there riding Billikens.
I'm going to stop by.
Be looking for Dauber.
I'll come find Dauber.
Yeah.
I'm going to find you.
I'm going to be trying to troll the Billikens and yell about this mythological creature from 100 years ago. And
well, we threw the first forward pass in college football, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
So do you still have a football team?
No.
Okay.
But we're undefeated since then.
1966, I think, is when they dropped it.
It's the same with us.
Same is true for the Ramblers.
If we go through this entire interview without you, Dauber, saying "Da Bears," I'm gonna be pissed.
So
he is wearing the right sweater, my friend.
Da Bears.
Thank you.
I have
All
them.
right, just close it up, Pete.
So yeah, let's close it with this. Zach is going to be there on Wednesday. What advice can you guys give him for visiting? I used to live in Chicago. It's been a long time.
What part?
Well, sorry. Never mind. Go
I
on.
lived on the far west side. I lived on the border of Chicago and Oak Park for a little bit.
Oh, little Austin. All
Right
right.
at
Austin
right
city
at
limits.
Lake at
Nice.
Austin. Yeah. And then
Nice.
I lived at like Southport, Irving Park for about 6 months before I moved down
Wow.
here.
Hey, that's where we went to high school. We went to
Yeah.
Lakeview High School. Me and Sam did.
Oh, we're talking
All right.
high schools now.
Yeah.
It's very St.
Irving
Louis of you.
But regardless, for Zach on Wednesday, what should he do on his brief trip into town?
Where am I getting dinner, boys?
What time you getting there?
I'm gonna be in. I'm leaving St. Louis Tuesday night, and I'm getting in around like late Tuesday night, staying overnight, working from the hotel. So, and I'm taking off early.
Where are you staying? What
the
region?
Hilton at Magnificent Mile, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I'm living it up. I'm a classy
Living it
broad.
up.
I'm a classy broad gentleman.
Magnificent Mile. You know,
yeah,
I'm a
then
big fan of.
I'm getting my swim in at Export Fitness in the morning. That place looks sick. But then
Look
I don't
at
have
us.
anything.
We have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, so I was gonna say if you're downtown, there's a classic steak restaurant called Gene and Giorgetti's. I'm a big fan of that. It's like one of those places where like old men, have the white shirt and the red apron.
Ooh.
And,
Yes.
it come take care of you, bring the bread and the.
Like a rendezvous in Nashville or in Memphis.
Yeah, it's just it's old classic. So that's one. Now, obviously pizza's another one, but downtown, I want to say it's harder to get the pizza that I think makes us famous. Actually, on the north side, there's a couple of places by me which are great. So if you're ever in this area and you want to go to pizza before a game, let me know. But I was going to say, the one that I like that's in most locations is called Lou Malnati's. So that's the one.
Are they serving beer at the arena?
Yeah, they serve beer at the
Okay.
arena. Yeah.
What kind of concessions are we looking at? Anything? Do they have like good concessions, or is it like classic?
I'm gonna say that it's average.
Okay.
They do.
It's not like Butler, who had a table set up outside
Oh no.
of like the entrance, and they're like, "Here, have Chick-fil-A."
It's not quite like that, but I would say that they could raise the game a little bit. I mean, I will say that as a fan experience, every year they take a few steps forward. They got, it's fun to go to games now. And when the students are there, and the students will be there this week, they're a problem. They're a real problem. If you struggle on the road, they're a problem. When they're full, they have a lot of chants that they do. There's a lot of movement, a lot of scarves. So
have they been? What's the reaction to kind of the down year of the Blurs?
Well, the way they scheduled their off week, they've been gone for a month.
Yep.
So
same with the Billikens, man.
Yeah.
It's
The students have been on break this whole losing streak.
It is funny that they don't have any clue, right? Like half the students that are like just huge basketball fans just don't give a shit for the entire break. They come back like, oh, nothing's happened. There's been no games.
Yeah, it is like, I mean, when, because we're still working on building the culture. So when they're not there, it's painful. I mean, it's painful. I mean, I'm the only one on the Jumbotron when they're not there.
Oh man. Dauber, Sammy D, you guys have been wonderful. This has been a lot of fun. So glad to have you guys on the A10. Excited to do this again next season, or we don't play you guys twice, do we? Do we play you guys twice?
Only once this year.
Okay. Well, we're happy to come on your show whenever.
No, we're twice. We play
Yeah,
twice.
we play twice.
We do?
Yeah,
When
that's
is
what I thought, yeah.
that? When is that?
Sorry.
Let's do your show next time around, huh?
All right.
Yeah.
All right, we're
for
down for that. All right, guys. thank you so much for joining us. Easily more fun than the Gola boys. So take solace in that. Have a great night, guys. Thank you again for joining us. Oh, wait, hold on. Let everybody know where to find you before you head out.
Starburst. Find me in
Just for Zach.
Chicago on a bar stool. No.
Oh God.
Uh,
Online.
Bruno and Tim's right across the street.
Bruno
from
and
the King
Tim's. Yeah. See me there.
Wait, is that right across the street from the arena?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
right across the street.
Oh, wait, let's I'll come over there before the game.
Okay. Yeah, I'll meet you over there.
All right, sounds
Is it a
good.
6 o'clock game though?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
Ooh,
Take
yeah.
off early, man. What are you doing?
Okay. Well, no, it just adds,
After the game?
I got to
game.
drive
Yeah,
back
really.
home, my dudes.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, right.
All right, boys.
All right, where
Well,
can you find us?
yeah.
2Ramblers Pod, all one word on Twitter, as well as Sammy Dopshoots and Matt Dopshoots on Twitter. But 2Ramblers Pod's where all of our Loyola information is at.
Yeah.
Hold on. You guys buried the lead on this one. You guys are family?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. He's
yeah,
my
we're
brother.
brothers. That's why we're 2Ramblers. I mean,
Yeah.
we're brothers.
He's my brother. Yeah. He's my little brother, Sammy D.
Well, all right then.
Oh.
This is
I was class of 94 and Sam was class of 98.
Oh, all right then. Well, thank you to Sammy and Matt for joining the pod. Have a great evening and not too much fun on Wednesday for you guys.
Yes, same to you.
Yes. Good luck.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Billiken fans, we have the Gola boys in the house. These are two of everyone's favorite podcasters, Twitter personalities. Rich O'Donnell, Dennis Grove. Welcome to the show, boys.
What's up? What's up?
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's our honor to be honest with you. How have you built? Give us some tips on how to build a Twitter following.
If I could go back to last year's pod with you guys, I think you asked the same question. I
Roll the
assume-
tape. Roll the tape.
Yeah, I assume you guys didn't take any of our advice the first time.
We did not.
We
we did
got
not.
to 1,000.
They've gained a
Hold on.
following.
We got to 1,000.
We got to
Okay.
1,000 as a function of time and persistence, but nothing in terms of actual craft or thought.
Okay.
Did you rebrand? I believe you guys rebranded.
Well, no. So I guess we'll go down this rabbit hole. Yeah, no. So I guess 2021, Pete, January, house that Rick built. Peter was a regular contributor to that show. It was me and Colin. Colin just, I guess, I won't say anything really. I don't know what he decided to do, but just kind of went AWOL 2 weeks in a row. And middle of the season, I just said, you know what, we're going to start a new show. And me and Pete started up, and we've been rolling along ever since. But
Nice.
yeah, no, it's been fun. And Pete is a great addition to the show. But let's talk about why you're actually here, and that is all that smoke.
Oh yeah. You know it.
Yeah.
Tell Billiken fans the legend of the LaSalle smoke.
Wow. All right. So it started off. I brought my pal. His name's Dan McQuaid. He's a good guy. I'll let you guys all know. You should follow him on Twitter at DHM. Especially if you're in the Northeast or in the Philadelphia area. He's got some good content for us Northeasterners. And he decided to attend a LaSalle game. I said you should check it out. Check it out, because he likes those obscure, like, weird things, and a small college basketball game in a very small venue fits the bill for him. So he definitely wanted to see what it was about. I had all the, like, classic things that a small basketball game would have, such as, like, free pickles if you miss some free throws, or like some weird other promotions, like they hand you a pizza towards the end of the game,
Like 2 hours old.
yeah, a cold pizza. So many he enjoyed a lot of those things that make one of those, those little basketball games fun. And one of the best parts was at the beginning, when a new neon sign was unveiled at Tom Gola Arena, and they would have celebrities or, well, just notable LaSalle alums or current students. I don't
Kobe
know.
Bryant.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been anyone. I don't know what the
shoot. All right,
criteria is.
Yeah,
in
I was like,
peace.
oh, like too soon.
They
All right,
haven't
in
asked
peace.
us yet.
Rest
They
in
have
peace.
not asked us to light the L. But we saw them light the L that game, and he was there. He filmed the L being lit because it was like kind of funny because it's just there's like 20 people in the building, and we're gonna flip the switch and turn on the L. And below the L was a very small smoke screen, a very small smoke machine. It was not a smoke screen at all. It just emitted what would be basically what someone could vape if they were to just take their vape and exhale.
I gotta be honest. An L emitting smoke is my second favorite letter emitting smoke. To J. J is more my speed.
Okay. All right.
But a J that emits smoke, I do enjoy those from time to time. But
it was a late addition too. The smoke appeared like about 5 seconds after the L was lit, so there was no effect at all.
This is so indoor soccer; it's not even funny.
So it was very, very pathetic, and hit Dan, my buddy, goes woo, and that's the only noise you hear is just him going woo, because there's nobody there. And that was how the legendary smoke machine was born. And since then, they've actually purchased 2 like legitimate, like powerful smoke machines that just go like and like shoot smoke a little bit higher. There's a little bit more of it, and it is kind of cool. But in the end, Rich, I don't know if we've seen that recently.
I was going to say, have you seen those recently? Because I know they had like the 2 smoke machines like early in the year when they would do the starting lineups, and one would be blue, one would be gold. I haven't seen those in a while.
Pete, this sounds like the case of the fire at SLU basketball games where like LaSalle decides that it's not worth the money to do it every game.
Yeah.
Like you have like
budget.
the electricity is not in the budget at LaSalle. I'm not sure. Who's the coach at LaSalle, dude? Like can you tell me?
Would you just wake up? Did you just wake up?
Wake up.
Is it Ashley Howard still?
Oh, wait, you don't know? You don't know?
We've talked about it already this season, Zach, but
Come on.
The head coach is Fran Dunphy.
Oh, it is. That's right.
You knew that.
Right.
You knew
You
that.
should know
You were
that.
testing us.
I'm sorry. I was at I was watching the Vikings game. I had a few beers. Give me a
He
break.
has had a
Okay,
few
you're-
beers. Man.
so let's
You're
get into
allowed.
more nitty gritty about LaSalle, and then we'll circle back around to some of the charms of Gola Arena.
Okay. Yep.
But so how is Dunphy performing in his first year? I mean, is this is it a return to form, or what do we need to know about LaSalle just at a high level?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Dunphy has done a pretty good job with what he's retained from Ashley Howard. So we lost Clifton Moore. He went to Providence. Jack Clark went to NC State. Christian Ray went to Delaware. But with the guys he retained, Jameer Brickus, Khalil Brantley, Anwar Gill, those 3 guards have kind of been like huge, building blocks, and they're kind of the foundation of the team. They rely heavily on them. We also have the Drame twins who came from St. Peter's. And they'll, usually they play the 3-4, maybe 4, and then, or sometimes the 5. And we also have Mamadou Dukura, who originally came from Rutgers. But I would say Khalil Brantley and Brickus and Gill, like those 3 guards are pretty much the heart and soul of our team. So we kind of started off, 2-2 in A10. We beat UMass at UMass. And then we beat Rhode Island, and then we just lost yesterday to Fordham by 2. So we've been close so far. So it was interesting because we ended the non-conference, or like we lost by Lafayette, who was like 1-11 at the time, like by 25 points. So we were like, oh my God. But after that, he made some adjustments. He changed a few things, and they've looked a lot better since then.
Yeah, they definitely relied on their guards. The front court is really hit or miss, and our guards are going to be playing like 30 plus minutes a game. That trio that Rich mentioned, and we're going to live and die by them. So, some of them can be turnover prone. So I think that honestly, that's what Dunphy's just been preaching is like, just keep it simple. Don't hurt yourselves. commit low turnovers and we can keep up with anybody that we play against in this conference, especially what we consider is like a down year in the conference. I feel like we could hypothetically like avoid the pillow fight, avoid that bottom four if all goes well, which in my opinion is a surprise considering this is his first year. And we thought that he didn't really have much talent to begin with because they all transferred. But what Dunphy has done with the talent around him has been pretty remarkable and just speaks to his career as a legend in the coaching industry. I feel like he's Mr. Big Five for a reason, right? He coached Penn well and had Temple ruled the A10 for a very long time. So the man knows how to coach.
The last time you guys made some noise in March was with basically an all guard lineup, and I guess that was 10 years ago this year. But
don't make them cry, Peter.
hey, I'm nostalgic for it too. But
the South Philly floater.
That's right.
That's right.
The good news for us is that the names you mentioned as guys who transferred out are the ones that we've had the most trouble with, I think, in recent years. So definitely interested to see those guards match up. 3 A10 games in a row now, decided by 2 points or less. I remarked to Zach, and too soon, clearly. But after that, because we were talking about the survivor pool, and after that Lafayette game, and after a not very convincing win at Howard, I think you guys, you lost a double-digit point game to start the A10 season to VCU. I joked to Zach, like, well, whoever's playing LaSalle is who we have to take in the survivor pool. And that's already blown up in our face once, because I thought at UMass would be easy money.
Yeah, we knocked out like 60-some people.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Money I do like my money.
We are known to, surprise some folks every year. Whether we have a winning record or a losing record, I feel like we always surprise. Mostly losing record.
Always. We're always like causing chaos.
Yeah.
We're always like,
as long as it's not havoc, I think the rest of the A10 can appreciate.
Yeah.
That's why we get followers when these wins happen that no one expects.
No.
What can LaSalle shoot threes? Because I think that's exactly what Billiken fans want to know. Because honestly, that every time we go through these previews of teams, Pete says they're not a good 3-point shooting team, and then inevitably they shoot 45% from the 3-point line, and they either beat us or take us down to the last 2 minutes.
I mean, if you look at the numbers, they're probably, I don't know, low 30s, I would say.
330
in front of you.
So they're gonna shoot 55%.
They're literally like, they make one of 33.3,
okay, like one,
which is good for number 223 in the nation right now.
Okay, like they're not known, but like there's one guy, like someone could take off. Like Brickus is very, very streaky. Nickelberry is very, very streaky. Brantley's hit or miss was a 3, but he has a good like mid-range game. I wouldn't say like the scouting report is like they're known to make threes, but they could be streaky from time to time. So
I agree.
You never know.
Yep, definitely.
So looking at your roster, I want to ask about, because the top 4 guys are all guys we're familiar with: Gill, Brickus, Nickelberry, Brantley going up. You talked about the Drame twins. Am I saying their name right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And they play kind of a 3-4. I mean, what's
maybe a 4-5?
Okay. Because that's what I'm looking at.
4-5, I should say. Yeah.
And then who's this? The Lithuanian guy, is he's a freshman, and it looks like he's probably not starting at center, or does he kind of start?
No, he doesn't start, and we don't know. Like, he hasn't played in a while, right, Dennis?
We think he's got an injury of some sort, upper body.
Okay,
like
he
hockey.
suited
Who
up
knows?
last game,
We could use him too. He's smooth. He's smooth for his age. I feel like he, as a freshman, I've been surprised with his effort on the offensive side of the ball. I think he needs to work on his defense a bit. For now, they'll rely on Mamadou. Mamadou always starts. It's just a question of how many minutes he plays after he starts. And he would be definitely our largest dude, the only guy that could stop somebody that is dominating us in the paint. You throw Mamadou in and bang him around a little bit. That should help. But yeah, the Drames definitely have to guard bigger than themselves. They definitely have to guard up. Like, and they're trying their best. I think that they're very like hit or miss. They're always giving maximum effort, but I do feel like their matchups usually don't favor them. and they're just like grinding it out in the paint when they wish that they could be like slashing and shooting the rock from the 3-point range, basically. But they give 110, and that's all we can ask for.
So it sounds like things are kind of iffy outside of the top 6. You play small. Maybe Zach, this is a good matchup for Forrester and Okoro, both of our 5s.
Yeah.
And we the last couple of years, we've really run just one big man at a time, and it's going to be one of those guys or the other at any given point. I want to say, although Okoro had his best game last season against LaSalle, I may be misremembering.
No, you're right. I feel like he dominated. Like, did we play you twice last year? I feel like he dominated.
I think so.
He did well both times. So
yeah.
I think we're gonna have our hands full with him because our front court is not our strengths. So, we'll definitely have our work handed out with Okoro. I know he's been have a down year, but
yeah,
I think I would feed him the ball if I was forward.
Yeah.
If LaSalle is going to beat the Billikens, how will they do it?
Under 10 turnovers, and somebody catches fire. Somebody catches fire. We've had Brickus catch fire. We've had Nickelberry catch fire. We've had Nickelberry catch fire. Those 3. Gil's got a good shot too, but
this sounds like every game we've lost.
Somebody could catch fire.
I don't know.
It's very hit or miss, but if one of those makes an impact.
We're one of the worst in the country at forcing turnovers, and have often had trouble guarding the perimeter as well. So it's certainly the conditions for those things to happen. Although I guess maybe this looks like a favorable matchup on paper for both of us, if that's true. Like given maybe we have a little bit of advantage in the front court. Who knows?
Yeah. So it would be Ford does not choose to go down low to Okoro, and we hit shots. That's how we beat you guys.
How do your 3-point shooters shoot free throws? Because you're going to get at least one 3-shot foul in this game.
We're about like 68% from the line. They're not that great. It's like,
all right, we can afford it, Pete. We can afford it, Pete.
Yeah, I guess so.
It.
Yeah, they're
kind of cost us
a little below average from the line. Just about 68.8%, 256 in the country.
Yeah, nothing special.
They've costed us.
On yesterday.
Yeah, they could have.
He missed the front of a 1-on-1. Brantley missed the front of the 1-to-1, and then Fordham came down and got the M1 before the game-winning shot by Simbilla.
Yep.
So when is Loyola going to get a new arena?
LaSalle. Or was that a trick?
I would love the Gentile Arena or whatever it's called. They said
no, I'm drunk. That was not a trick.
That wasn't a trick?
I meant to say LaSalle.
We're previewing Loyola right after this.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. To be fair, it's half that I've been drinking and also half that I was just messaging the Loyola pod with the link to the interview.
So are you interviewing Loyola after this?
Yes, you.
Oh wow!
But you guys are the main event.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, because you're Saturday, so you come after Loyola. So like you're gonna be second. So really, like they're opening for you.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Gola Boys always headline.
We're the main event.
Gola Boys always headline.
You could tell by the main event vibes we're giving off, tonight for you guys.
But
yeah, let's do that. When is LaSalle going to get a new arena, and will this arena, fulfill all of our dreams and have like the kind of yellow slide that goes outside the arena and then into the pool on the next level below?
That's
like,
the dream.
Like when you drive by like one of those Great Wolf Lodge or Holland Dome or one of those things.
No, it's the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, but it's got it like one of those hotels.
I'm gonna need the Explorer
and then back in.
Yeah,
that's
like,
also in PA.
It's exactly like the like a Carnival cruise line. It's got to go outside the ship.
Yes,
it's got to go outside the ship over the ocean.
Come back
exactly.
What's the name of the mascot? What's the Explorer name? Like, does it have a name?
I don't think so.
No.
He's just the explorer.
Lord,
De
yeah.
La, it's not like De La
It's
Salle
LaSalle.
or
It's
something.
the
Yeah.
actual explorer.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the
not.
explorer.
explorer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
and he can slide down on every 3-pointer. That'd be awesome. Or a dunk, every dunk.
And
Like,
then walk
I'm
back
here
up the
for it. That would be
stairs
cool.
soaking wet.
But
I
he has
wish
to
I
come-
won.
No, he has to come through smoke though. Like the smoke has to come down at the top of the slide, and then he comes through the smoke.
Ooh. Okay.
Oh, dude, hey, do you guys know anybody over at LaSalle? Because I'm a marketing genius. I think I am next in line to take over the head of marketing at LaSalle basketball.
We can put a good word in
I mean,
for
we
you.
know-
all right,
we know
I'm
a
here.
lot of
I'll move
people.
up to Philly.
Okay.
Every
It's a great
morning,
place.
every morning, I'm gonna run up to the steps and do this.
Yeah, I live like real
before
pretty
I
close there.
before I head into my terrible office job.
I wish I won the Mega Millions, because if I did, I would have totally like put money in. We would have got an arena very quickly, and I would have got that slide installed. It would be, the Gola Boy Memorial slide or something.
Oh my
Um,
god,
is
you
there
guys,
any-
That's
you
awesome.
guys are true legends of Twitter. Like, let's be honest.
Thank you. The
Appreciate
arena.
that.
To answer your question, we heard our president apparently at halftime against Fordham. He was on the air of our our radio station, I guess, during it's the broadcast of the game, and he spoke about the plans, which we've heard many times before, are coming out soon. I think that they're vetting all the options. They're talking with the builders, and I don't know, that it sounds like, well, Rich and I, it's the same thing every month, it seems like, but I don't know. With this new president, I feel like by the end of the season, we'll have an update, a pretty significant update.
That'd be great. Playing in Gola kind of feels, I don't know, it almost feels like haunted for SLU fans or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
we've never played well there.
We're gonna need
that's
a walk-on to win this. I
Yeah,
don't even
like
know
we
who
did
our
that.
walk-ons are that will help win this one.
the walls kind of lean in on the
Yep.
ends. It's just like
It's like the
There's-
trash compactor in Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's the arena, I think, that makes SLU fans feel the most out of place in the A10.
I think it's
You know?
Belk.
Yeah.
But
it's the
go
opposite of
ahead.
your arena. It's the opposite of your
Yeah.
arena. So yeah, I mean, naturally, you guys should come to a game because you're very close to. You get to. Every seat is amazing. I mean, it's a high school
Sure.
gym, so you're going to be very close to the action. You see everything. That's a counterpoint. I mean, it's like a great arena to watch basketball because it's so small.
Well, when you're as rich as I am, you can sit as close as you want to. The
Oh, right.
Oh,
You flex
But-
your pod muscles. You're
But I
like,
also feel
in
like
my in my studio apartment here
I'm the media.
in St. Louis, Missouri.
Give me a media credential, right? Is that what you said?
if LaSalle were to rebuild or to renovate or whatever they plan on doing, it's not like they're going to overbuild, though. They're not going to build a 12,000 seat arena or
No.
something. I would
Nope.
imagine whatever they come up with is going to be pretty great in terms of sight lines and seating as well.
It's going to be 20 mil. They're going to turn the court. We already know this is pretty much what's
Yeah.
going to happen. They're taking the same structure. They're just going to build onto it like Lego bricks, like on the sides, and have a training facility. That's going to be brand new, a whole new structure. But the arena itself will remain, and they're just going to add on to it and build additions and kind of remodel. The court is going to be turned.
Mhm.
What is it? I'm going to get the
Oh.
angle wrong. Just turned
90 degrees,
horizontal. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Turn
Yeah.
90
like
degrees.
they did at Butler.
Yep, exactly. So that way there'll be baseline seats, and then hopefully some air conditioning in that damn place. It's so hot in there.
So, yeah.
It's
So-
insane.
So let's finish up here. What scares you the most about the Billikens? What concerns you as a LaSalle fan as it pertains to the Billikens of 2022-23?
I feel like it starts with Yuri Collins. Obviously, he's leads the country in assists. I feel like no one's even close to him the way he passes the ball. But I haven't paid attention like very closely, but have Jimerson and Perkins not been playing up to their standard?
Perkins is still kind of working his way back from the ACL rehab. He had an unbelievable game with Perkins out of the lineup against George Washington.
Okay.
He looks so much better, and I'm interested to see what
With
Ford's...
Collins out of the lineup.
Oh, sorry, with Collins out of the lineup. Thank you.
Oh, not
Pete.
okay.
And I'm interested to see what Ford's comments will be when media opens up on Monday, whether it changes things. for the way he's going to run his squad and whether, Collins will be allowed to kind of play off the ball a little more and let Perkins handle the ball, because Perkins was cooking when he was, allowed to isolate or go one-on-one or maybe, be the point Perkins. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Pete, help me out here.
The short answer to cover both of them is he's not 100%. It's 14 months.
Who's not
out
100%?
Perkins.
From his
He's
ACL
still,
tear. He's missing a little bit of burst and a little bit of strength, sure. And because of that, defenses figured out pretty quickly that they can still guard Jimerson like they did last year and just shadow him everywhere, all over the floor, tug at him, hack him, whatever they need to do, not give him any room at all. If Perkins was the full Perkins, you can't quite get away with that as well. Gotcha. So that's kind of the short version of why maybe they haven't produced up to expectations this season.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think Jimerson, again, Jimerson has to work a little bit harder on offense, and therefore he's working harder on, his defense isn't where it needs to be. He was awesome against George Washington on defense, but previously his defense had been absolutely horrible. And, again, when your defense is horrible, it affects your shooting too, because it affects your confidence. So, but I think every game scares the shit out of me. But I always have enjoyed when LaSalle shows up to Shavitz Arena, because I think it's still a good game, but it's the one game I feel comfortable with, not to be mean.
No, I feel like every time we play there, you guys like blow us out by 20.
Yep.
It's the one game. It's the game I'm taking my mom to, because I know it'll be like
it'll be like a laugher,
and I'm not going to be an asshole in the arena, So, but yeah, hey, Gola boys, we love you guys on Twitter. You guys are absolutely the class of the A10 on Twitter. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell everybody where you can find your hilarity on Twitter.
Yeah, we're at the GolaStandard on Twitter. Same name for our podcast. The jokes don't fly as much on the podcast, I will say that, but we do break down most of the games post game, and we talk about also off court stuff like the state of the program, the university as a whole, and we just throw a lot of jokes in on Twitter. So please follow both of those, and hey, we got to make a trip up to over to SLU. This season it wasn't in the cards. We got the Eagles on Saturday. Sorry, but that takes priority a little bit.
Is Vince Papali still playing wide receiver? Is Vermeil still the coach over there? I don't.
You got to read up a little bit on your Philadelphia lingo. I mean, you didn't know who Fran was for a minute, and now you're talking about Vince Papali.
Hey, if we play on a weekend next year at Philly, I think Pete and I need to make a commitment to get there.
We would be happy to host you. You can swim in the pool afterwards.
If it's still
I
there.
do need a place to train while I'm up there, so I'm gonna hit up the LaSalle pool. All right, thanks.
My trunks.
Yeah, but I'll bring you a pair of Speedos, Pete.
Yeah,
There you go.
That's what people want.
All right, boys, take it easy, and we'll talk on Saturday.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you
for having us.
Thanks.
Take
guys.
it easy. Once again, thank you to the Gola boys and 2Ramblers for joining the show. Good time had by all, except for Peter, who was just getting frustrated by me that entire interview. On to the trivia question of the weekend. Pete, I gotta say, I think this is my turn to have a banger of a podcast, or a banger of a trivia question this week.
I think it is. Let me go over last week's, and then I'll flip it over to you for the next one. So the one we asked last week, Yuri Collins just passed Jameer Nelson in all-time assists and is now 66th in NCAA history with 727. Which former A10 players does he still have to pass? The answer is Jacob Gilliard, who's number 38 all-time with 782. He played at Richmond from 2018 to 2022. We all remember him. And Chaz Williams from UMass is number 23 all-time with 840. He graduated in 2014. So congrats to STM Dragons on Billikens.com. And, of course, Joel Hall on Twitter. Both of them got the answer. Other people got, one or the other, but those guys got them both. So, Zach, give us this week's question. It looks like a pretty interesting one.
So, yeah, this one's involved. I'm going to read off some records for you. 8-21, 12-14, 13-14, 5-23, 5-23, 16-14, 16-13. What do those Billiken season records have in common? So yeah, I think it's one of you nerds is gonna get it right, like right off the bat. And that's why we love you all so dearly. But I'm interested to see how quickly it's grabbed. Pete, on to the women's basketball. Solid week for the women.
Not a bad week at all. They went 1-1, just kind of like we had hoped or thought was a reasonable goal for them. But the first game, Zach, was a lot closer than we thought it would be. 76-65. They lost to Rhode Island, one of the best teams in the A-10 on Thursday the 12th. This one was a lot closer than the score indicates, though.
I got to say, I thought they played so much better against Rhode Island than they played against Dayton.
I
mean,
actually don't disagree with that. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like, I'm going to wait till we get to the Dayton game to provide my wonderful analysis of the game.
Well,
but yeah, URI really won this game by taking advantage of slew turnovers in the second half.
Yeah, they did. And then they really pushed it and transitioned. It was a neck and neck game the whole time. And then all of a sudden it was a 12-point lead with about 4 minutes to play. But to SLU's credit, they never quit in this game. You know, they ran out of gas maybe in terms of their shots were not falling, but otherwise their effort was there. Martinez in this one, Zach, we early in the second half, we put everybody on notice. We were on triple-double watch for her. She finished with 14, 14, and 8. Kind of got stuck on the assists. I think she had 6 pretty quick and then couldn't get those last 4. And she only had 1 turnover too, which to me is a key number for her because she's been a little turnover prone this season, but was hoping she would pull down that first triple-double in program history.
Yeah, Kennedy Calhoun has also been asserting herself a lot more lately on the scoring end. She had a great game against Rhode Island and looked really nice against Dayton. Against Rhode Island, she ended up with 14. She's still figuring this out a little bit on the turnover side of things. 2 assists, 6 turnovers. McMakin had 11 on 4 of 23 shooting, 1 of 8 from 3. I'm gonna be honest, dude. You know, if you tell me that's McMakin's score line and you tell me we almost beat Rhode Island or we kept it close with Rhode Island for 3.5 quarters, I tell you're crazy.
Right. Yeah. You wouldn't think it would happen in a night where she's so dramatically off. Yeah. But look, I mean, they still feed her. Like late in this game when we were within 6 or 7 under a minute. Well, maybe not under a minute, but a couple minutes. They're still drawing up plays to feed her. I mean, they are looking for her. They're looking to get the ball in her hands. But man, I don't know if I'd still be doing that. I think at this point I'd kind of be using her as a decoy, you know, like I'd be running plays to draw defenses to her and then find somebody on the weak side who's open. I don't know, man. I just these games are happening so much more than the kind of games that she had against VCU or Green Bay where she's really on. So I don't know. I think at this point I would be looking around at other options late in games.
Another stat sheet stuffing game for Flowers, 8-12 with 3 blocks. Tough loss. I mean, they shot well in the first half, cooled off in the third, and unfortunately, what's cooler than being ice cold? Or wait, what's cooler than being cool?
Yeah, they went ice cold in the fourth.
Ice cold. Yeah. 19 more shot attempts than URI, but the same number of field goals. They won the turnover battle by 6. Moral victories suck, but you know, sometimes you got to take them in a first year as under a new head coach. And Pete, you made a note here about what you'd kind of like to see from Tillett in the recruiting game.
Yeah, she's got to prioritize shooting. You know, the numbers here are just so bad on the season. The slash line is just, they're not a good 3-point shooting team, and because of that, they can be a little easy to scout, especially when you've got one player who's a true chucker. They need multiple shooters. I think if Julia Martinez were a threat from outside, that would be a game changer. I don't know what's kind of happened with Camry Clegg. She's kind of disappeared at stretches of this year.
I haven't heard her name in like 3 weeks.
Early on, it kind of looked like she might even outscore McMakin on the season because she was more consistent. And then she's just been kind of quiet since then.
Tillett seems to really ride like it seems like she is still figuring out what each player brings.
Yeah, I think
seems kind of crazy, but I mean, that's what happens when you put together a team really quickly. You have to. I mean, she had to.
Right.
80-69 W versus Dayton. Billikens take the first half of the Arch Baron Cup on the women's side. The game was televised on CBS Sports. Nice crowd. Billiken Athletics Department sent out 10 complimentary tickets to every Billiken basketball season ticket holder. Which, hey, I'm not knocking it. That's a move.
They wanted to fill the place. They wanted to look good on TV. I was told by a friend who was there, who took his family to the game, that when they went in, they were encouraged to sit in certain sections, right? So they knew how it would look on TV. And to their credit, it did look pretty good. It looked like a nice crowd. It sounded good too. And the fact that it's Dayton helped. I think that's a name that's gonna get a lot more interest out of people than if we have a nationally televised game against George Mason or something like that. So I think all of those factors help. And to the athletic department's credit, I think they played it correctly, and most importantly, they got the good result here.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different when you're looking at filling the building without, with non-paying customers, right? Because with college athletics, your perception is reality when it comes to potential student athletes. If you're recruiting players out of town and you're like, oh, hey, check us out on CBS Sports on Sunday, and then you turn on the game and nobody's at the game, you're going to be like, no, thanks.
Right.
But if you bring this is not only hey, let's try to get fans hooked on Billiken women's basketball, sure, but it's also let's make it look good for potential recruits.
Right. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's just interesting. I mean, it's certainly whether it came from Tillett herself or from the athletic department, this is a good move. Obviously you don't love to devalue your product, but when it comes to a nationally televised game and a potential to look good in front of potential players, go ahead every time. 10 out of 10. Slow start. Pete, I gotta be honest with you. This game made me physically nauseous to watch. I've never seen so much uncoordination from Division I athletes. And I'm not just talking about SLU players. Nobody could hold on to the ball. Nobody could catch the ball in at least the first half of this game. It was bizarre.
Yeah, it's one of those things when they're not clicking, when they're not scoring, it can look ugly. And I think that was the case here from what I was hearing from you. Luckily, I did not see that 7-point first quarter because they really got off to a slow start here. I didn't turn it on until the middle of the second quarter, when I got home. And luckily things kind of got a little bit better from there. SLU closed the gap. They got to within 3 at halftime, and they were looking a little bit better. But yeah, I know what you mean. I've definitely seen stretches this season where you kind of scratch your head a little bit. But luckily they righted the ship and they looked a lot better in the second half.
Yeah. 56 second half points better. So that, that is a difference of 20. God, 32 point differential.
Yeah, I mean
between...
that's right. They more than doubled
Yeah.
because they had 24 at halftime and ended up with 80. So just an incredible turnaround in the second half.
Flowers, another game where Billiken's on triple double watch, 15, 13, and 6. That 6 being blocks. I texted you, I've never seen a person, a basketball player that has such a disparity between their offensive impact and their defensive impact. And I think a lot of that has to do with just her incredible defensive impact and maybe slightly below average offensive impact. But Flowers, man, I don't understand. I don't even know if she's regressed. I just don't know if she's ever progressed.
Maybe not offensively. I mean,
offensively speaking.
Yeah, and you talked about this a little bit earlier in the season. Some of it has to do with physicality. Watching her offensively, I think a lot of it is establishing position. I think she can kind of struggle with that sometimes against bigs who have a physical advantage on her in terms of their strength. I think a lot of it comes from that. And then I think part of it is maybe overthinking. There were some of her misses today. She really seemed to kind of beat herself up. She was 5 for 9 from the field, 5 for 8 from the free throw line. But yeah, I mean, I part of the broadcast, they talked about how part of the focus of her training lately has really been to be more assertive on offense. And I think we may see a little bit more of that going forward. 15 and 13 is a pretty great output for her, to go with 6 blocks. Martinez, by the way, another great game from her, 18 points, 8 steals. And her steals were really what was keeping SLU in the game in the first half, and then kind of helped us open things up in the second half.
Yeah, and only you can have like that many steals, but also you can foul a lot. And I think the fact that she did stay within 3 fouls is quite remarkable to go along with those 8 steals.
Yeah, for sure. She played a really she played at a pretty fast pace in this game. And I think part of that was driven by Dayton. Their point guard, Sydney Freeman, was probably the fastest player I've seen us play this season. Granted, I didn't watch the Baylor game, but she flies down the court. She doesn't always have a plan. That seemed like it was a move, but that seemed like it was the plan, was just to have her run. Yeah, just beat people down the floor and see what was there. I can't give her finishing skills a lot of credit. Sometimes she would beat everybody down the floor and just kind of throw it at the backboard. But regardless, I think maybe I think matching up against her, Martinez had a size advantage, but it was kind of like I think she was putting a little more urgency into her pace in this game, forced by Freeman on the other side.
I want to talk about I'm going to go a little out of order of our notes, but I really want to talk about Kennedy Calhoun, man. I thought she was outstanding in this one. She just looked smooth, took what the game gave her, triple nickel, 11, 6, and 5. I thought like she stood out the most in this one, in the 3 quarters that I watched.
The first game I was actually kind of impressed with her watching was the Carbondale game, the one I was at a few weeks ago. And I think over the course of this season, we've really seen her progress. Early on, I kind of had my questions because she was brought in, as a Longwood transfer. And you kind of thought like, okay, this is who Tillett clearly sees as her point guard. She's a sophomore. She wants her to be the point guard going forward. But man, early on, I didn't really see it a lot. She did have some big assist totals early, but really not much of a scoring threat at all. And then more recently, we kind of have seen her, add some levels to her game. So she's definitely progressing, I would say. Just needs to be more consistent.
Yeah. Speaking of consistent or lack thereof,
yeah.
An inefficient 16 points, all in the second half. She had to sit with 3 fouls in the first half. That's Kyla McMakin, man. I don't like. She is both impressive and infuriating.
Yeah.
all wrapped up into one. I mean, like, she will either go out and look like the greatest player in Division I women's basketball, or she'll go out and look like the worst player in Division III basketball. I don't want to be mean about it. It's just like baffling to see the polarization of her game. Like, she's never just good.
Look, I mean,
she's not Papa John's. Like, she's never just fine.
You take the first half out of this one, and 16 points and a half is pretty good. I mean, she's only scored over 30 a couple times this season. So 16 and a half is very good. 6 of 17, is not great. But she was definitely one of the reasons that SLU took the lead and stretched out the lead in the second half. She made some big shots, played a good third quarter, and seemed to be smarter about the way she was playing in this one overall. But still, just gotta be more efficient. I don't know what the answer is. Just well timed, I would say, in this game.
Again, a defensive effort from Brooke Flowers was incredible. Again, not a lot of offense. Something that I think there's just so many one-dimensional players on this team. Everyone just brings one thing, but they can't do multiple.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because one of the players that we said was kind of one-dimensional last season has kind of just been buried on the bench, and that's Kylie Bess.
Yeah.
But the one thing that she does is shoot threes, and I think they could kind of use that this year. So I don't know why she's not seeing the court at all, but something that I've definitely noticed.
Speaking of shooting, I've loved watching Mia Castro this season and the way she's grown into her role.
Yeah, and she didn't have her biggest game in terms of like the box score or anything, but she played 24 minutes and had another steady performance, with 8 and 4.
She's one of the few.
She was good defensively in this game too.
One of the few players that plays under control and looks like, I don't want to be mean here, man, but like that none of this team looks in control of their body at times. Yeah, but Mia Castro looks like she knows what, like, she's always in control. I don't think she's ever had a play on the court where I've been like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's just, there's no question we need to upgrade shooting and athleticism moving forward to compete in the A10.
I wouldn't even say athleticism. I'd just say coordination. But yeah, that's just me being mean.
That's just
yeah. Wednesday, the 18th at Duquesne will be their next test. Pete, on the men's soccer side, the Billikens took a little hit to the coaching staff. Why don't you tell us the good news for Chris Birch?
Yeah, he took the head coaching job at Lindenwood. He spent the last 5 seasons as an assistant under Coach Kalish at SLU. And this is after 20 years of experience in the college game as a player at American University, and then assistant coaching stops at Louisville, Xavier, UConn, Syracuse, all pretty high-level programs. Before spending a couple seasons in the Atlanta United Academy program, and before joining SLU's staff. And so he'll take over Lindenwood, which is new to D1. This was their first season in D1, so he'll take over for year 2. And I don't have much doubt that he'll take the program to the next level. He's a really, we heard Coach Kalish on our own show say how valuable he is in terms of his scout, his eye, his recruiting ability. Lindenwood could be a formidable foe within our same metro area in just a few years, Zach.
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Could be some recruiting battles.
Yeah, no, and I think this is a great recruiting, or a great hire. Lindenwood is in a great spot as far as soccer goes here in St. Louis. I think you're seeing a lot of the movement out to that area from North County. A lot of people that were North County, Scott Gallagher, Lou Fuse, they're all moving out that way. So I think Lindenwood has a ton of talent right in its literal backyard, more so than SLU does, I guess. But SLU has recruited nationally a lot better. So I think we're still going to be fine. It'll be interesting to see how they fill that role. Not sure if Kevin Stoll will be promoted, but we'll see where it goes. Swimming and diving, Pete, and track and field. Run us down.
Yeah, swimming and diving. The women have Butler on Sunday the 15th. That was today. We just didn't have results in last time I checked, and I'll give it a quick look here on the air while I'm looking. They did win 160-61, which is wow, that's a pretty big result actually against
Wait, did you
against the
say
Big
160 to 161?
160-61.
Oh,
So they won by 101 points.
Okay.
They slew 110 of 12 events. And Carly McKeon and Emily Leonard led the Bills with 2 victories apiece. McKeon won the 100 free and the 200 free. Leonard took the 500 and 1,000 meter free. So that's a pretty nice result there. Both teams are back in action on the 21st. They will host Little Rock and Valpo. And then track and field, the winter season resumes on the 20th and 21st at the DePaul Invitational.
Yeah, and another note, just to satisfy a friend of mine's, he is a head coach of a small college track team up in Iowa. He will be bringing. He's a former Billiken. He's the head coach at a track team, a college track team up in Iowa. He will be bringing his team to the Billiken meet in March. So be on the lookout for that event. Well, Pete, we had a long episode. I am pretty sure this is a 3-hour episode, but I'm not entirely sure. And that wraps up the week in Billiken Athletics. Follow us on Twitter at Midtown Mad Pod, at Peter is a tweeter, at Zach Miller MMP, and on Instagram at Midtown Mad Pod. Any suggestions you have for the show, send them our way. Subscribe to the show, leave a review, all that good stuff, Pete. As always, go Bills.
Go Bills.